All right, this is Deep Dive Gaming, for our second episode of the Diving In podcast. And tonight we have our first guest ever, Ben. He's a raider from our guild, and he has a little history of his own. Ben, do you want to give a little rundown of who you are?
Yeah, sure. I am Go Easy, the ex-owner of Pink Panda Boosting, and ex-World 50 raider, I guess. I mean, it's kind of scuffed this tier. I wasn't very high rated this tier. I sort of had two guilds to stand on me at around World 100, but previous tiers like Antorus, Tim Sigaris, and Battle of the Zaralaw, World 38 to 50 kills with the final bosses. And yeah, as far as Pink Panda goes, it was a pretty large community from May 2019 to September or October 2019. It fell to its knees because of my own fault and, to some extent, greed.
Damn. So, actually, before we get into the Pink Panda boosting stuff, let's just for the podcast, you started playing in Legion, right?
Yeah.
Emerald Nightmare. That's crazy to be top 50 so quickly. How did you what did you do to learn quickly and all that? What was your approach? You just stopped kissing girls and then right into the top 50?
I mean, it was a lot of no lifing the game, that's definitely for sure. I came from a background of League of Legends being perma-hard stuck in gold and shit and spamming 12 hours a day to get good with it. I had the work ethic for sure. I mean, learning my class, I was a discipline priest for about a year and a half, I guess, in Legion, and I tried to make sure that I understood every quirk to a very fine point, because it's a very different game to League where mechanical skill isn't isn't as prominent, I guess. It definitely plays a role, but I think understanding and I guess just knowledge really is how you get very good at a spec or class or whatever.
Did you have any friends playing WoW when you started playing to help you learn? Because last week I mentioned that Leon, a former raider and guildie of ours, kind of helped me pick up the game really quickly. So did you have anyone like that, or did you just read a lot of guides and shit?
Bit of a 50-50. I mean, honestly, the friends I played with weren't at a sort of World 50 level. They were good and they helped me with the basics and stuff, but I wanted to go a bit further than the sort of level they were at the time. I think I just wanted to raid more, honestly. I don't think I was looking at world ranks and going, yeah, dude, I want to be World 50 or whatever, but I looked at times and the people I started mixing with and stuff like that got me invited to guilds.
Okay. They must have, your mates must have felt like shit, damn, he just started playing this month and is in a top 50 guild? What the fuck happened?
It was a few months. Definitely a few months, but yeah,
Fair.
It was quite quick. It was definitely quite quick.
So was it within Emerald Nightmare? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. It was just sort of pre-patchy Emerald Nightmare thing.
I guess that's the easiest raid to...
Yeah, it was a little bit, but I got coerced into buying or pre-ordering Legion, even though I'd never played the game.
Fair enough. I respect that. Cool. So
That was a really good expansion.
Legion was great. Besides the whole legendary energy at the start, which we talked about last week, but
that ties into corruptions later though, so
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's actually crazy though that you got top 50 so quick. And were you playing Disc Priest the whole time?
No, well, for Emerald Nightmare, not really, because it was trash in the end. It got reworked and overhauled sort of around Trial of Valor Nighthold time, and that was when it really shone, I suppose. My first role was actually just, well, that's the thing, it was sort of my first taste of not RMT but account sharing and that sort of thing in a way,
Oh, okay, right.
because the people liked how I played and stuff, but there wasn't really any characters that I could just swap to immediately because I hadn't played the game that much and I was only focusing on my priest, which I could only play Holy, and generally Holy isn't the best progress healer, so
Fair enough, right.
I
So
decided I would buy a very, very, very bad account and get it leveled up.
okay, and just so everyone knows for the channel and podcast, Ben here is our fire mage at the moment, along with me, and obviously is giving me some tips and stuff. But the cunt also has 8 masterfuls or 9 masterfuls, so that's he's gonna be on top. But anyway, so yeah, I guess like tell us a bit more about Pink Panda boosting and the whole controversy you had, and just like about real money trading and stuff. Because for the most part, I'm pretty clueless about it. I don't dabble in that stuff too much. Well,
No. No, I mean it is sort of an underworld for a lot of people, I suppose. I mean, not in the sense that it's against any rules as such, like the whole gold trading side of it, but I think it's looked upon with a certain amount of distaste.
in terms of service.
Yeah, maybe like it's sort of a grey area in terms of the terms of service, at least. But
Oh, is it not specifically
definitely
mentioned in the terms of
no,
service?
no. There's nothing about gold trading or anything, which is
Okay.
it's interesting actually. Wowhead have decided that they're not going to get involved in it, just in case Blizzard do eventually say that they don't want it. And
Okay.
so, if they're ever approached by people wanting sponsors or whatever, they'll decline it. But
So
I
it's
don't
like a
think
preemptive
specifically
measure.
against it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think, and I think they're on they've got the right idea, because I don't think this is good. Honestly, I don't think boosting will be around in Shadowlands as prevalently as it is right now.
Why do you think that?
You'd have to go to extreme measures to make sure that it's safe, at least, because I think that they're trying to turn over a new leaf for Shadowlands, and I don't think they'll want trade chat being as it is.
I do agree. But what can they do in trade chat realistically to stop it?
You could get rid of it in a day if you wanted to. You could permaban the account. One of my advertisers got banned for 6 months, and that was enough of a deterrent for him, even though he was making some good, actual, real money off it.
I can't believe people get permabanned for like saying stuff in trade chat.
No, it was a 6-month ban, but it wasn't necessarily because he was spamming in trade chat. That's kind of unheard of. It was
You're right. I was gonna say.
yeah, the actual email said that he was botting, even though he was just using an add-on that spammed trade chat. So he was just spamming trade chat, but they dressed it up as something else.
Yeah, so that's actually the kind of cover-up that they use to justify it then. Which is
Yeah,
fair
exactly.
enough.
I mean, yeah, they can ban whoever they want. So.
Yeah.
So, how did you like initially get into RMT? Because I'm guessing at this point you were like 17, right?
Yeah.
So this is only a few years ago, and yeah. So like, what kind of got you into RMT and that kind of world? And then how did you actually go from like not only being new at the game and also new to like the kind of underworld of WoW, but then also going into like founding one of the largest kind of boosting communities that we've seen in the game?
Yeah.
That's a big leap.
Yeah, it is a bit. Well, I don't think Legion had anything to do with it at all, really. I stayed away from boosting, stayed away from anything sort of illegal except for that one thing in EN where I was like desperately looking for an account. I suppose, really, it was when I decided that WoW tokens are a fucking rip-off and I'd go and look online. To see
Good
if
point.
there was anything better than the shit they churn out for like 17 quid per 100k or whatever. And yeah, I bought some gold, and that led to nothing really, but just sort of my whole perception of how Blizzard actually monitored it going a little bit out the window. Like I was like,
Right.
okay, I bought 2 million gold. I traded some guy who would like give gold.
Hmm.
You know, he gave me 2 mil and nothing happened. So
Damn.
fuck it, let's go.
I mean, auto detection has gotten better as well for recent
Yeah,
times.
tell me about it, man. I'm fucking banned for 3 days because I bought some gold. I guess it's wild tokens for me. Please subscribe so you can fuel my fucking gold addiction. Thank you.
Why don't you learn to play the auction house, man?
Nah, man, it's too much. I'm busy grinding.
True.
But no, Pink Panda formed a lot later than anything to do with raiding or anything like that at all. Difficult actually to say what was the catalyst, but I saw the numbers, I guess, of Galliwix's spreadsheets. I was linked to how much they were making every 2 weeks.
How much was
I
it?
saw how much gold there was in it. At the time, they were making roughly 180 million per 2 research.
Damn.
And at
That's
the
pretty
peak of Pink Panda, we made 286.
Wow. So how did like Pink Panda form? Like, who did you like? Did you have some friends? Did you just recruit random people? Like, what was your strategy going into it?
Well, you know how like piss low guilds will randomly whisper entire servers at a time of people
Mm-hmm.
and go like, white tribes recruiting, or social activities and that sort of thing. Well, my approach originally was to mass whisper people in game, and then basically just give them a macro that said, "Here's our Discord link. Come and check us out for boosting or buying."
That seems like a lot of effort, dude.
Yeah, that was only part of it though. Like, I had a lot of connections in raiding and sort of high end at the time, so I
All right, and
pooled my resources and I invited a load of my high end friends to be boosters, and I got a few advertisers that I knew who I persuaded they could make a load of money.
okay, and what? Sorry to cut you off. No, actually, just finish your point.
Well, the formation of it was kind of scuffed because I wanted it to just be a raiding community, but it was called Orange Raiding Boosts, I think, the original
That's
name.
literally what I was going to ask you about orange boosting and how you gather them.
Yeah, Orange Raiding Boost.
Yeah, so like, what happened with that, and how'd you get people? I guess.
I can barely even remember how I gathered them. What did I do?
Oh God, relying on chat. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm relying on
dilemma.
Root right now.
I mean, you don't have to. If you can't remember, it's fine. But I mean, it's interesting.
It is interesting
so
to
you
see
work
how
with
this
people.
kind of conforms, right?
Yeah, because
So,
yeah,
I obviously have a lot of experience forming guilds, but I don't have any experience forming like these kind of professional communities. And it was always
Yeah.
something that I was interested in to kind of see, okay, how can we set up a team that's really good at something so that we can, I always thought of it as like doing something positive in the game because I'm a little shit like that. But, profiting off it is probably even more interesting.
it's
That's what my
smarter.
head's been on the last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna
Well,
say, like,
yeah.
sorry, it's actually hard to not cut people off in a three-way conversation. God damn,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
on YouTube are gonna think we're cunts, but it's a good thing we're friends. No, because just like in my experience, I've never formed a guild or boosting community or anything, but I've always just known the right people to invite me to them. Like you, for example, Pink and Leon, and obviously you, Ben, for that kind of stuff. So it's just I've like got no knowledge at all on like how to actually form it, and I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's definitely a lot about prior connection. I don't think you'd be able to walk into Orgrimmar as a level 1 and just make your
Yeah.
way. You definitely have to have a bit of backing behind you. Like, I had some very good friends who were committed to the idea of making a community and making some money outside of real life. And
That's a very good point. Actually, I'm currently in college, and obviously Joey's in college. I don't know about you, Ben, but what I noticed in college is that it's not actually mostly about what you learn. It's about who you meet and what connections you make, and that kind of applies here as well.
yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, like, one of my traits, which has actually burnt me quite a lot in the past, is I do always look for an opportunity. Like, even the hint of it, I look for it, and it either backfires horribly or it benefits me in some way. But
Yeah. And
No, it's fair enough.
That's good.
I mean, you found us.
yeah, hell yeah.
So-
Bad luck.
But that's
Yeah.
how I found Yohi, my designer, the guy who I've been with for fucking ages with this community, and my new venture, which Wildboost will
Okay.
hopefully become.
Please sponsor us. And yeah, so I guess like that kind of leads into the controversy, because at least on Reddit and in a few other areas of the internet, people are quite familiar with the whole Pink Panda boosting controversy, and you actually cop quite a lot of fucking hate from it. But obviously, it's it's good to see it from both perspectives.
It was brought up a lot in the guild as well, so maybe you can assuage some
Yeah.
curious people there.
So like
Yeah.
before you even get into it, like, I want to just mention for as context, like, and I'll obviously let you divulge all the information that you want to, of course. But you said before you don't care. But yeah, we've actually had some guild drama about this, and it's crazy. We've had one like core raider leave just because of the situation, which a lot of us find really ridiculous, and yeah, there's just been a lot of kind of negativity around it, and I think there's a lot of misinformation, but then also a lot of just like I don't know, people. I don't even know. It's just a lot of information. People just get annoyed by it, even though they don't even like bother asking for the other side of the story and what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel
Well,
free.
it didn't start at the Reddit post. Okay, there was a lot of tension boiling over for months before this. Not just from other boosting communities, because one of my main strategies and one of the techniques that got me in a lot of trouble was poaching advertisers because of our advertising system, which incentivized people to advertise more and more and more and more. And so it was like a mini game that people got fucking adrenaline off of.
So how did
Hitting sales goals and that sort of thing, but nobody had ever done that in boosting before.
so like just to go into depth here, because again, a lot of people like me definitely won't have a clue about this. So like I understand that advertisers, as it is now, they get obviously a cut in gold, or money if it's doing if it's down that kind of line, just for advertising the service. And if they find a customer, then they automatically get that cut. And knowing that revolves around like just spamming and trade chat and that kind of shit. So how did you like differentiate from the normal advertiser? You said you incentivized them and poached them, but like
Yeah,
what are some of the strategies?
That was my main selling point, really. As going into it, I said straight away, the core of a boosting community is how much you can advertise and how far your reach is. Because we have infinite supply, we just need to get that same level of demand.
Okay.
So I decided I'd cut the management a little bit further down to begin with, and I'd give advertisers 30% of everything.
It's quite a lot.
Considering the most before that was like 15, I think, in smaller communities. That was quite a big step, I guess.
For
The best
sure.
bit about it though was that you actually had to work up to it. Like you'd start at 10, you'd go to 20, and then you'd go to 30. And
Really, you were kind of like a marketing company.
Yeah, so you're like adding levels of progression, kind of in the same way that actual businesses and companies in real life settings gauge progress, effectiveness, and kind of give employees higher status. Like how they promote them. I know for example, Leon, our friend, and his company made a completely new promotion system, which is kind of based around how long you've been with the company and how you've been doing. So that's definitely something that's applicable to real life.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
So did you just give them increases in their payout, or did you do other things?
No, there's a lot more. The entirety of Pink Panda was controversial from the very outset. People absolutely despised Pink Panda because not only was our idea to incentivize advertisers an insane amount, we'd also undercut the market by a small percent every time, and we'd match and match and match.
Oh, I
We'd
see.
bring down the market, which isn't a great idea, but it is for sort of short-term growth because we had a lot of customers, and then we'd retain them over time.
Okay, so
With service and a little bit of personability and that sort of thing. But no, I think the main thing really was how we paid our advertisers. It was
Okay.
a badly kept secret that we did masses of real money trading, and that we had a secret channel for all our advertisers where we discussed payment methods and what they want. And because of that, people treated it as a real job rather
Okay.
than an actual hobby, which is what really gave us an edge over every other community.
So how did you go from just kind of golding for sorry, I was gonna say golding for boost. How did you go from boosting for gold to money, and like how long did it take? Was it something you were kind of wanting to do from the start? And how did you manage it with like how do you do that? Obviously it's something you have to learn, but like how does that process go if someone like pays you with gold and you trade it to money, or vice versa? Obviously.
There's one little anecdote, I guess, of mine that I suppose really pushed me over. I think I was fairly indifferent to how I got paid, how I took my cut, until I sold one specific Jane amount for a really high price, 450 euros. Like he came to me and offered 450 euros if I could get it to him that day. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Wow,
I
he
thought
just
that-
straight up
that's a
offered you
lot.
that.
And then afterwards, I was
Wow.
like, wow, 450 quid. I just got 450 quid. I opened PayPal, and he'd sent me 2,000 euros as a thank you.
What?
What?
What? That guy is low. That's insane.
I bet you for that guy it wasn't even a big deal.
No, it wasn't. He's a very, very, very rich Arabic friend of mine. now, a very good friend of mine now.
Oh,
And
crazy.
he's done business for, you know, the remainder of May to this year. Like he's a permanent customer. He comes back. He tells
So
me, you know what? I can't be asked to do my dailies today. I'll do it for 300 quid or something.
holy shit, I need to know this guy. So Rude said that you were ready to sell her to Arab princes for chickens and camels. Is there a backstory to this, or?
Maybe not quite literally.
So for everyone, just Rude is a demon hunter in our guild, and she's really good with infinite stars, but no, she's obviously a great player, but yeah. And Rude and Ben have known each other for quite a while,
Yes.
so yeah, they've got some history to say the least. So you're gonna sell her to Arab princes for chickens and camels. How many chickens? Chickens are valuable.
Well, it'd have to be several, man. You know, Root's good stock. Dude.
Good stock, dude. She's worth at least 3 chickens.
Yeah, at least 3.
Fuck yeah, Rude.
Upsell it to 4, 5.
You feel like there's a prince out there waiting? Rude, I've been trying to find you on Tinder. I'm right here. Come on. I'm no prince, but okay, whatever. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. So yeah, so with the whole Pink Panda controversy, obviously you're talking about, undercutting the market a bit and also incentivizing advertisers more. But to an extent, don't most boosting communities already kind of go with the market? I mean, I know over the past 2 months at least, I see very varying prices for Mythic Plus runs and whatnot. For example, obviously, as the expansion goes on, the prices for the final raid boss are going to go down. And even Mythic Plus has gone down a lot. It used to be at least, like, I want to say 400k for a Mythic Plus 15 run, and now you're seeing like 250k for Mythic Plus 15 with Armor Stack. It goes down a lot, but it also goes up depending on patches and whatnot. So why was that really frowned upon?
Well, first of all, it got a lot worse when Pink Panda died, because 4 communities just sort of sprouted from the earth from nothing when we dispersed. It was like killing a big spider and then like all its little baby spiders running out. And
Oh no,
going
the
across
ad
the globe.
deal with.
Fucking hell.
It was a little bit terrifying, to say the least, of what the remnants of Pink Panda spawned. And like trade chat today, no joke, I take 100% responsibility for trade chat today, because
Alright.
previously you would not have this much spam at all.
Okay, fuck Ben.
Until
Get
Pink
him off the
Panda-
podcast.
Yeah, until Pink Panda, you would not see what. I don't know. You'd never have that amount of people in trade chat. We had like 4 or 5 advertisers per round spamming on 30-second. One message per 30 seconds, which was an incredibly short
Yeah.
speed of time to continue spamming something. And it was a very high risk of being silenced, but we kept going at it because of just the amount of people we could.
And is that primarily
Well,
because of your incentivizations to advertisers? Just the other boosting
Definitely.
communities had nowhere near as much marketing.
I mean, people weren't just paying their rent with this; they were actually living off it and having holidays with it. Like
That's
the-
crazy.
People were earning 3-4 grand a month from advertising, and
Damn, that's actually really impressive.
yeah. I mean, not everyone, but there was one
Yeah.
one guy who made 4,000 euros a month consistently with
Wow.
13 accounts.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
crazy. And so how did Pink Panda end? Obviously, that's where I think most of the controversy is seen, especially on if you go on Reddit and stuff and see some comments. What kind of happened there? Like, obviously, some people might know the general idea of it, but like, what's your perspective? Like, what's your perspective and your like truth on what happened there?
The truth of what happened to Pink Panda boosting.
That's a good.
No, I don't
That's a
think
good
anyone-
fucking title if I've ever heard one.
Oh, you can clickbait that if you want. I don't.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good one. Yeah. So what happened?
Oh, nobody, absolutely nobody knows the full story. I guarantee you. I've twisted it and lied about it quite a few times. Honestly, like I'm not gonna be dishonest.
Fair enough.
I've it mainly at the time to keep my own personal security safe, because no joke, people were paying for my address.
Oh wow.
Really? How big of a deal was it? Because like I still see aspects of it, like scattered around the internet, But back in the day, how big a deal was it? 'Cause I don't know how much of an effect like such a boosting community has on the game, and how many people are actually kind of affected by it. So like before you, I guess, divulge, like how big was the drama and how much did it affect you? Obviously, you mentioned having to protect your own personal security, but how did it get to that?
Well, okay. Although there were only 5,000 people in the Discord server, it was a hugely well-known community. No, like I'm not just being arrogant or whatever. It was extremely well-known because of the malpractices, I guess, that we went after, and the way we operated was very like bare-faced. We were literally just looked into the eyes of Blizzard and fucking stared them down. And
Good, fuck Blizzard.
people didn't approve of it. Obviously, people said it was dangerous to the boosters, the stuff we were doing, and tried to sort of keep it a half secret, which is true. Like, in a way, the way I did operate and do operate, I can't guarantee the 100% safety of everyone involved, but
The thing is, I don't necessarily understand that, right? One thing I see a lot is people being very morally against buying gold and RMT, right? It's understandable from a certain degree, mainly because a lot of people will just want to play the game the way it's intended and not break terms of service, which is fine, right? I think it's a fine thing to be against it, but then you see some people, and I think it's a small but very loud minority, which is adamantly against it, and they, and it gets to the point where they wish really bad things upon people that do it, even though it seems unjustified because it is just a game at the end of the day, right? So my philosophy is if you're going to be playing a game a lot anyway and you can make money from it, then it's a good thing, especially if you can, boost for gold and stuff, then it's fine. But if you can profit from it, then it's great. Sure, it might be a bit, dodgy because it goes against the terms of service, but to my knowledge, you're not going to be going to court for that. The most you're going to be getting is a ban, right? It's a video game,
Exactly.
and you're exactly, you're not in any actual danger of well-being, right?
It's absolutely legal. There's
Exactly.
absolutely nothing
So
illegal about it.
so
It's a grey
obviously,
area,
yeah. So obviously,
protected by law.
exactly. So obviously, when people say it's dangerous for the boosters, it's not really because they can just make a new fucking account. How is it dangerous? Like, I understand.
Well,
I don't know.
So I can see. So I'm in agreement with you, Joey. Right? Like, if you're gonna do boosting, if you're gonna play a lot anyway, why not make a little bit on the side? I agree with that statement, and I actually, I feel like that right now as well. I'm gonna be honest, but there is obviously some negatives. For example, I think that the boosting communities shouldn't negatively affect the game as a whole. Where, for example, trade chat is completely flooded, so it's unusable. I actually think that's bad. Like, if you saw the recent Reddit thing where the Asian servers are like completely flooded with advertisements. There's no space at all to even find groups except if you're looking really hard. And I think that's like pretty negative for the game as a whole, and that kind of drags down everything about the game. And I think that should be kind of kept separate. So I'm happy with boosting communities. I like them, but I think that it should exist outside of the main play area.
I don't care about trade chat. Like, maybe it's just because it's kind of always been like that for me, but I don't give a shit. I just don't look at it.
WoW, right? Because it's WoW, right? But like, trade chat could be a vehicle for something positive, and group finder is often you have boost groups as well, which is a lot.
I was gonna say that bothers me.
Yeah. So
that is actually worked on by Blizzard, though. I mean, honestly, those get taken down very quickly.
Yeah, no, I report like I don't care about trade chat to the same degree, and it's no problem for me. But it's annoying when I'm trying to find a group and then it's just advertisements. So I always report those. But as a whole, I don't care about trade chat. I mean, the group finder is great. If you want more people to join your group, get in a guild. Otherwise, just pop it up and you're fine. It's got more information anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true.
I just think that honestly, the general play and like trade chat and stuff could be used, and that's why I think it's a bit weird. But like, I can see your point as well, because in WoW it's kind of evolved past using trade chat.
Yeah.
But imagine if the boosting stuff was in vanilla, it'd be disaster.
Oh, for sure. Like, I understand why trade chat used to be good because this was before group finder and everything, but I think it's just better now with the current system. So I don't know, but yeah, I guess Ben, like, going into the collapse. How did it end? How was the fall? What is the truth?
just quickly actually.
Hmm.
I will leak it because juicy.
Okay.
I was good friends with the leader of Gallywix for a very long time, and obviously he's a lot more involved in interactions with Blizzard than I am because they're above board and they're obviously the biggest community now, especially.
Yeah.
And they've had talks with Blizzard, Gallywix, and actually there are plans to make it either above board or separate from Trade Chat and LFG entirely, and there's going to be like an advertisement channel.
So when you say that Gallywix has had talks with Blizzard, do you mean like they've had emails with each other? They've kind of
Apparently
had
there
tickets.
was a conference call.
Wow.
With the management of Blizzard and some higher ups, or the management of Gallywix and some higher up, or not higher ups, but people at Blizzard. I don't really know who.
That is really crazy. Right, and so they're essentially planning to make, I guess, a new panel in chat for advertisements. That's gonna severely damage boosting communities, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might be a good thing for them as well, in a way, because if it's above board, they can kind of go away from this Wild West thing, but still have really good growth. And then if there's an official place there, I don't know. It might encourage monopolies, though.
It might be good, but the problem I see with it is for the people who haven't gotten boost before and don't necessarily want to divulge in it, but like nowadays, right? Okay, like let's just go from the scratch, from the start. Right now, there's definitely a lot of people who have never had a boost for gold, and they might have some gold, or they might have bought a few WoW tokens, and they wouldn't think about it. But then when they see in trade chat, Mythic plus 15 for 150k with full armor stack Yoki, that might really persuade them. But if they're a new player, and that's going to happen in Shadowlands, there's going to be a lot of new players who haven't had boosting. They're probably not going to, be going to the advertisement chat or even looking at it. They'll probably just have the standard trade chat open. Like, a lot of customers will be lost.
Yeah, I think it depends on how easily accessible that is, because honestly, a lot of customers come from just the one-off glance at trade chat and like, oh wow, yeah, I could do with that.
Opportunistic kind of.
Yeah,
I've done it before. Like, even in the current expansion, where I've been only playing for 2 months, I could have probably just gone like, hey, someone in the guild, do you want to like carry me through a plus 15 on a yacht? But then I see in fucking like trade chat 140k for a mythic plus 15. I don't fucking like, yeah, okay, if you're gonna armor stack for me, then yeah, let's do a quick fucking 20-minute dungeon and give me all the gear. Like, even for people that have like played the game, when there are those like discounts and stuff, then it's very enticing. That's how I got my fucking braces, dude. Pink was like, yo, my boosting community is doing a discount for like Mythic Plus dungeons this week. Get your mage on there for the braces, because I'd literally been farming it non-stop and I was fucking tired. And you know what happened? That run, 3 fucking braces dropped. Two from the mages and then 1 from me with fucking leech on it, dude.
Wow.
Like,
Just for closure, it's pro boosting that I'm boosting with, and I'm only doing it for gold at the minute. I don't know if they're involved in anything else. I'm not actually a major part of them.
hey Pink, when I my Raider IO is like 1970, so I need to do 1 more dungeon and you fucking get me in pro boosting, yeah?
Nope, they upped it to 2.2, dude.
Let's fucking grind after this podcast. You down, guys?
Yeah, I'm in.
So that's plus all plus 18s?
Nah, it's plus 17s or 16s. But let's get to 2.8 so we can actually boost 15s.
Okay, let's do that. We'll just do high keys.
The
Us
owner
three.
of Pro Boosting is currently watching the stream, by the way.
Really?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Papa, how's it going?
Who is that?
Papa was my manager, or one of my managers.
Papa Strumpf. Mate, I don't see a follow. What's I don't care. I don't care. I've already hit fucking
I'll talk about that for a bit.
affiliate.
After the downfall of Pink Panda Boosting, Pro Boosting is one of the communities that came out of it. It was the main one that basically carried over all of the management that wanted to continue after the unfortunate ending of Pink Panda. So
Right.
It was Papa and Pro himself, the big Pro, whatever he calls himself now. Yeah, man. Did you link the podcast in?
No, I didn't, dude.
Thank
No,
you.
I wonder if Papa did.
Than't you for putting that on
Oh,
display.
do it, man. Get this man some subs.
Okay.
DJ Samo, Infinity Pro. There he is.
Just
One of my
Samuel,
managers.
thank you very much for the phone, man. I appreciate it. Got my sub button yesterday, man. Feels good. And yeah, for everyone on YouTube, I honestly encourage you guys to come for the podcast every week. It has been a bit random because we're just starting it off, but I think we're gonna try to go for something like 10:30 every Friday night, BST time. So I think because that works pretty well for us. And yeah, these podcasts are probably going to be going for around 1.5 hours, but they may be shorter or longer. It's
Yes, Papa, I apologize. I called it Pro Boosting. It's Ice Crown now. They rebranded. I
okay.
didn't boost in the last week.
Fair
My
enough.
apologies.
Oh, it's all good. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to be clickbaiting the YouTube title, "The Truth About Pink Panda Boosting." Let's get into the good stuff, man. This is what everyone's here for. How did it end? What was your point of view? How did it create drama unto this very day?
Well, pressure's even more on now that Papa and Infinity Pro are here. But yes, the ending of Pink Panda involves one of my good friends as well, Taylor, who helped me end Pink Panda, I suppose I'll call it. I don't know where to start about the end of Pink Panda, really.
They start kind of where you left off. You know, you formed it. It was going well. You got involved with a few malpractices, as you put it.
People hated you. Just yeah. So obviously, yeah. Like I guess where we left off is it was going really well, but people were, or at least the community was maybe a bit dissatisfied with you or kind of against you because of the malpractices and incentives you provided.
Yeah, I mean, our community loved it. Everyone was really happy. Honestly, I regret this, doing what I did and having the community die. Because I made some really good friends there, actually, and you know, I pissed a lot of people off as well. So I regret that. I do regret that.
The thing is, no matter what you say, I reckon I'll be able to see it from both perspectives. Because on one hand, like, and I don't think I've even talked about the full truth with you before, but just know some details. The thing is, even if you, like, fuck it up and do something wrong, then I can understand the incentive of value in getting a lot of gold or doing something, right? But then on the other hand, I can be against it, because if I was in a boosting community or something, then maybe I would be annoyed with how things ended, but... Because we're friends either way, I don't really give a shit, but obviously it has become a drama, so yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Go for it, man.
Alright.
The stage is yours.
Pink Panda's last few weeks did actually go exceptionally well. Like it doesn't have enough grounds for it to be an acceptable thing. Honestly. The last few weeks we actually had generated a huge alliance side due to a fairly big alliance community collapsing, and we sort of absorbed them. And I bought a lot of gold from the leader for a very cheap price, and that sort of helped me put some things into different areas RMT wise, and I was sorting it all out and setting up quite a big launch for a real money boosting website. Sort of aid Pink Panda, get more customers in, and sort of funnel them through Gold Boost, which would be exceptionally cheap because the gold to real money price is ridiculous. You can make a lot of money out of that. But anyway, it sort of ended because a lot of my management burnt out. I felt like I was burning out a lot due to the amount of effort it took to transfer gold from realm to realm. It wasn't just it wasn't a very straightforward system like it is just paying people with money, which I much preferred. Even Bitcoin and stupid stuff like that is quite finicky is a lot easier than having 300 realms to transfer gold to and finding shit gold in places that you just know you won't find for weeks on end, and people coming to you angrily demanding their gold a week after, and they're on like Beluga Luga German. You just fucking, you can't do it in a week, man. Like, you gotta earn more gold.
Yeah, Helmut!
Give me that gold.
I guarantee Papa and Infinity can relate to that at least somewhat. Even now, there's no solve. There's no quick fix for
Yeah, I often see it in
Gold-
the payments announcement that gold on certain servers is delayed, and I'm just like, oh, sucks to be them.
Yeah. It's not an easy system. But it doesn't really excuse anything. However, I think it was partially arrogance on my part because I thought, you know what? Why don't we just go full real money? I don't need Pink Panda. I made this a success. I can make Well Boost a success. Or it wasn't called. It was called Monarch Boosts then. But yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna get some capital. And this is burning me out too much. I can't do this. I'm spending literally 12 hours a day doing this, and I'm getting nothing but hate for it. Like literally hate. Not all of it undeserved, but like I don't think it should have gone to the level it really should have. Like honestly, quite a bit of the anger directed at our community was quite a bit of jealousy, and I think people wanted the lack of inhibition we had. That was just fucking whatever, dude. We'll sell our gold. We'll get real money boosters buyers through our runs. We don't give a shit. We
Good.
don't care what happens.
That sounds very similar to like previous stock market crashes and the housing bubble and stuff in real life, like where people kind of get that thing like, yeah, we set that up, we can do it, and then other people are jealous because that's kind of free, and then it all tumbles down and fails. Like,
Fuck it, we'll give you a loan.
yeah.
Just pay it back in 20 years.
I mean, it sounds honestly like a story you hear in real businesses a lot.
I mean, at this point, it is a real business. I mean, you're dabbling in real money trading, and you're literally working 12 hours a day. For like what was originally a game, and now it's become something that's really burning you out. But you are making money, so yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I was definitely living the life of not being a very moral person, and I don't think I really enjoyed that very much at all. Honestly,
Well, being a moral person,
sort of-
yeah, sucks.
being an immoral person, it really, I don't know, it really fucked about with. I mean, I'm not gonna say my code because I don't know. I don't think I've lived long enough to develop one, but
Fair enough. But you were young when you were doing this as well, so
yeah.
I think a lot of people in your shoes would have been like, wait, I'm 18 and I can make this much money just from selling a Jane amount. Let's just fucking do this. Like, it's a video game. Like, who gives a shit? Let's just make money, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, I'm not gonna lie. If I was 17 and I got like 2K deposited into my account for rating, I'd have been like, okay, let's go.
Dude,
Yeah, exactly, and
people
that's it, yeah.
aren't good at being moral when they're young. People aren't good at being themselves. People aren't good at much in general. I'm only 23 and fuck knows if I'm a good person. I'm smart as some shit, but we're too young to really be too complimentary towards ourselves.
as
At least in Oregon.
It was only really me at the top that was benefiting from management gold, even though we had a huge amount coming in every 2 weeks, which was, what was it, roughly 70 million management every 2 weeks in gold. So, I mean, that's double what the
Fuck's
best
sake,
advertiser
think.
would make a month.
1 sec. You just need to quickly think of how to do this last story. Pink just cheered 1,000 channel points, so I have to do 10 push-ups. Fuck.
Monotony.
How am I gonna do this, dude? Oh god, I don't have the space in my fucking room, dude. Can you see me? I hope you can see me.
Sorry for interrupting the story.
No, it's fine. I don't mind.
I'll do a clap for you.
Look at him go, man. Born streamer.
Go on, Joey.
Holy shit! What a man.
Fuck's sake, man.
I think Rude's getting excited.
No, I'm good. Rude, did you like that clap? Oh no, you did. Okay. Got a headache. Thanks, man.
Fun fact: I can make my butt cheeks clap when I twerk.
That's something we didn't need to know. Alright, let's finish your story while I get my breath back. So how did it collapse?
Yeah. God, what the fuck was I on about?
You were talking about how you were immoral and you didn't like living that life.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, it was that and I guess the pressure of the ever-mounting pressure of trying to find gold in places where it would never fucking exist. Like, unless they earn 10 million gold on a server, and we could debank swap it, which is quite cheap.
Oh,
there's
true.
no way we could find this fucking like Italian gold they wanted or anything like that. Like it's just not happening. Yeah, that definitely got to me.
Dude, just find 10 million gold on the Guatemalan server.
Oh,
On the fucking Tuwiki server. Can we get 700 million gold on Tuwiki?
the thing is, I refuse to make less than I was making.
Okay.
That
So
really pissed, management off.
So sorry to interrupt, but how much in the last few weeks of the Pink Panda boosting community, how much real money? Sorry, how much money were you actually making?
In the last couple of
In
months,
comparison to actual gold as well. Like, was there a percentage you can give us, or?
yeah, we took 20% of everything as management,
Okay.
and honestly, a lot of that went directly to me, and my management team were underpaid. I'll admit that, and they were kind of promised more than they got at the end, and it wasn't intentional either. But what one of my business models was to basically take a loan out of the community every 2 weeks, so roughly 60 or 70 million that I knew we'd earn back,
Okay.
and I'd invest or spend or waste.
And how much, so how much money were you making in comparison to the gold you were making? Were you
Well, take that advertiser figure and roughly double it.
Okay. So how much was the advertiser figure again?
Like 30?
Like 30, right?
In money, like 3 to 4.
Oh, oh, not too bad, dude.
It was
What, percent or?
3 to
no
4K, I
thousand.
imagine.
Yeah.
Oh. That makes more sense.
That's pretty big, dude.
And double it. Yeah. It was.
And this is per month, or how much?
Yeah, per month.
Damn, that's really crazy. And was
Yeah,
all this going towards you or other people as well?
About 6-ish, I'd say.
Okay. Interesting.
Went to me, but it should have been more to them, honestly. A lot more to them. And that was kind of the downfall. There was a mix of a few things, especially being burnt out, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like a lot of anxiety and aggression every day, because it wasn't just being like in charge of it. It was, even though we had like a ticketing system, so that we had assigned people to whisper or DM these people or chat to these people when they had issues, like a support ticket.
Mm-hmm.
In Discord, it's like you can see the guy who's in charge and running it all, and people just send every concern to that person.
Oh, I see.
And I had, no joke, hundreds of DMs a day. It was just
Wow.
pure just mayhem. It's horrible. I'd never go back to that.
I
I
think
didn't
it's...
have a minute to myself. Like, it wasn't 12 hours a day of working. It was at least 17 of just getting interrupted and having to fucking respond to people, and just constant worrying of what's going on, if the raids are being successful, if the unplus figures look good that day, and then
Right,
other people
yeah.
talking about their balance not being updated and the bot not working. And it's like, oh my god, holy shit, this is absolutely unmanageable.
I can see how that would be really stressful and shitty if you're like the main one organizing all that.
Especially if you feel like you have to respond, because I would imagine a successful community like that, you would trust the ticket system and the management to delegate it properly, so you wouldn't need to worry too much. But then, of course, if you do feel responsible and feel you need to worry about it, then that's tough, dude.
Yeah, I mean, people ignored it, honestly. I mean, not everyone there had perfect English and stuff, and they just didn't read
Right.
anything and just went straight to me. That was at least 40% of it, I think.
I think it's interesting though, because I reckon at most boost communities you'd see today, probably a larger percentage than you would think are actually taking that, that gold and then probably just selling it for real money. And obviously that's not like, that's something that these boosting communities can't control. It's gonna happen.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is 100% what happens.
I'll probably
That's why
fucking
it's
do
so
that.
good
Please don't
to
ban me,
be
Blizzard.
semi-open.
Sure, like, I mean, if the possibilities are out there, someone's going to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just a
the
struggle.
actual end that I've sort of prolonged talking about was all of that sort of coalescing, and then eventually me and Taylor saying we've had enough of this, and the way it's going to end is the same every community so far that has ended. And that involves the guy with the gold on the account leaving with the gold.
Damn.
And then making some excuse about it.
So how much gold did you get?
Yeah, we need the real figure instead of taking piss out of you.
For calling it the truth about Pink Panda boosting, then you know. You don't have to divulge it if you don't want to.
No, I do. I'm just finding you a sheet that is at least some of it. I'm trying to find an older version of it, but if not, then...
Honestly, mate, if you were planning to leave, you should have waited at least, another week. Double those figures.
We waited 3 weeks.
Respectable.
Yeet. Oh, that's pretty good, dude.
We were basically... Our whole idea was to basically say...
So I'm not going to show that spreadsheet on my video because I don't want to show all the figures, and also I don't want to edit that.
Okay.
That's fair enough. But I guess people can click into the chat now.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, and people in the chat can click in it, which is why you should come and watch my stream. Also, did you know I got my sub button? Okay. But yeah, do come for the streams though, guys, if you do enjoy these videos and it's not a hassle. So yeah, fuck, what was the number? I think I've seen the spreadsheet before. So it's something like 260 million?
285 million there.
285 million.
We immediately put another 70 million on Taylor's account because that's the cut I gave him for helping me. And he was a very good friend, and he'd put a lot of effort into the community to make it what it was as well.
So that was 280 million just for you, or like 70 of that was his?
No, 280 for me, yeah.
Wow, so you got 350 million total between you. And what did you leave the gold on the servers, or did you like move it around, or what was your kind of modus operandi for that?
The accounts were genuinely banned for a short time after, and we're pretty sure it was because of the community mass reporting the account.
Ah. How long were they banned for? Okay.
6-month ban for one of them, the main one, and then for the surrounding ones, like a 1-month ban each.
And how much gold did the main account have at the time?
Like 160 mil or something.
Damn.
Just an absurd amount.
That is
So
really
I got that
crazy.
recently. I got that a couple of months ago.
Wow, that must have felt good.
Yeah, I mean, nothing about Pink Panda feels very good. I don't know. I don't think I'm the same person I was then. I don't think I'd have.
Except being very, very, very rich. You can have how many long boys can you buy? You can buy 560 long boys.
Oh,
Wait, more. You can buy more. I'm retarded. Wait.
It's 5 million for long boy.
Yeah.
You got 280 million.
Oh yeah.
By 500 long boys, dude.
That's a good point. Yeah, my math is bad. Don't judge me. Is it? No, yeah, it's 500,000. So you can buy 2 per million. No, so you can buy 560.
It's 5 million gold per long boy.
Oh, it's 5 million. I was thinking 500,000. I'm retarded. I don't want to do that math. Oh god, I'm gonna be this stupid on the internet? That's not good.
You're being stupid on the internet.
Guys, for the record, yesterday I did a 21-hour stream and I was awake for 30 hours. So some of that is still lingering today. Please, don't flame me.
But yeah, I personally couldn't do that again. I mean, I know somebody that does that repeatedly to multiple communities.
Someone did it recently, right?
Yeah. The same guy. He does it every time. He forms a community.
I didn't like that guy, and that was before I knew. You know why? It's honestly because he was a cunt.
Like, I understand getting away with it once, like, people don't kind of see it in your character. And even twice, maybe, because it's like, okay, he's a reformed dude. But if you do it, like, 2 or 3 times, how do people, like...
Well, 1, he's not as known. I don't think I could get away with it again. But 2, he's also quite charismatic. I mean, very charismatic.
Are you sure? He's a bit of a cunt to me. For no reason. Please don't bring him into the guild, dude. I actually really didn't like him.
Wow.
Not just because he was like a bit mean, because I can take a lot of banter, as you know. Like, I've always been the person in, high school and everything to, get the piss taken out of me, but I also just always take it out myself, so I've got no trouble with it. But like with that guy, it was just kind of mean. It wasn't like, it wasn't really funny, dude. He was just being like a cunt for the sake of it.
I agree.
Yeah, so.
I know this guy, so.
Yeah, it was in Discord once, so.
Well, anyway, Yeah, he can do that without remorse, but I definitely can't.
Is he
I
just a
don't
bit
know.
kind of manipulative? Maybe
Yeah.
maybe a bit narcissistic. That I probably shouldn't use that term. Studying
just
psychology and everything.
yeah, I don't know. It took a lot out of me. That did. I mean,
But how did that affect you afterwards? I mean, like, let's talk about the hate for a second. I mean,
mm,
obviously you got a lot of it.
yeah, just a bit. Yeah, some very idle death threats, but still death threats, you know.
You
And
got death threats. That's really
That's
crazy for fucking gold.
that's gonna weigh on you, especially
just
if you're
people who
drunk.
don't even know me though. Like it wasn't.
Oi, give me my 20k.
Stab you.
It was just random people. It wasn't even people who were affected. The people who were affected, either like the people who were really badly affected by the crash, were either paid out because I did that at the end, or
Was this through DMs? Like, oh, I really need that money or gold, man. Can you like?
yeah.
Okay,
And I was like, yeah, definitely, like 100%.
that's good at least, because a lot of people wouldn't have done that. They would have been like, they wouldn't have answered. They would have said, "Fuck you." They wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, I guess. But no, afterwards, yeah, it was a bit of a fucking wake up call, I guess, man. Like, I don't think I'd just be a greedy cunt again, like just a full on greedy cunt.
Fair
I'd
enough.
have a lot more respect for people who made it good and for not just the management side, but just everybody who was a part of it. Really, I respect a lot. I still can't be 100% perfect with customers though. I have to say I really like. I don't really care how much I charge a customer. If they're willing to pay a certain amount, then I'm not going to push them down and say, "Oh, that's too much, man. Don't do that."
If a customer is willing to pay a certain amount, you should not tell them to go lower, because that goes against any kind of business instinct at all.
Yeah. So there is a thing, perceived value, right? If the customer perceives it to be that value and they're willing to pay it, any business would accept that. There's no reason to push people down.
No, exactly.
Now, if they're selling their, if they're coming in and they're on unemployment, if they're like, "I'll give you my whole unemployment check," I'd be like, "Listen, man, no," but that's a moral thing. That's different.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, it's a great learning experience. I mean, regardless of how you look at it, these are the kind of experiences that shape a person. Like, at least it's crazy. Everyone in their life is gonna have moments that define who they are and kind of shape the person they will become and want to become. The frequency of those might change, but the importance of them doesn't. There's always going to be those moments, no matter how small you might perceive them to be. It could be a breakup, it could be moving, it could be something even really trivial, which doesn't seem like much, but it can push a person to want to be better. Like, I know, straight up, that when I was younger, I was just a fucking cut man. And it took me a while to realize, but it made me want to be a better person. It's those things. Like it's hanging out with the wrong friend groups. It's doing the wrong thing once and realizing you made a mistake. It's like it's just any small thing in life, but it makes you better, and it's really important to experience those things. Like for example, it's like to get fucking personal, and like, Ben, don't fucking Pepe hands me, because you always do it. But like, literally, the last girl I was with, like, I wouldn't go back at like for anything in the fucking world to like redo that or have another crack at it. But like, that shitty part of anything in your life is gonna make you better. Like, at the time, you might feel like a cunt, you might feel guilty, you might feel like absolute shit, but you just have to move on because it's gonna help you grow. That's the case with anything. There's no point of living a life where you don't make mistakes or don't feel bad, because otherwise, what's the point? Life is about learning.
Absolutely. And that's what our channel's about too, by the way. But
True.
I always found though that you only learn and grow through adversity once you accepted what happened, right? It's about getting better as a whole because you learned from an experience, and maybe you struggled at the time, but once you accept it and fold it into who you are, that's when it kind of pays off.
Yeah. Well, I hope I learned from it. I feel like I did. I know that if I'd go back then, then I would definitely do everything differently up to that point.
Yeah, I think it's fine to think that and want that. That in itself shows that you've grown, to me. But like more than that, it's good that you feel that way because it shows you have changed. You know, you say you don't know if you have, but like I've only known you for a few weeks, but we've become pretty good friends. I normally don't associate myself with cunts, except myself.
Me.
Ah, Pink, you're a nice guy. Shut up. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna be the kind of person to say, "Oh, I could tell a scammer from someone that it's not," but it's obviously the case that you're a better person now. You know, it would be fucking difficult to not be a better person, especially feel bad about it. Like, even just thinking the things that you're saying is gonna promote you to be better subconsciously. You know, this isn't scientific fact, but it's how I feel. So, I don't know, but that's a crazy story, man. Obviously, you know, if you just sum it up, it's literally just playing WoW or starting the game from a very late point, and then quickly going into the underworld of it, and like forming what was once the largest boosting community in the world, and then ending it in a big bang.
That's a very good summary. Yeah,
It's a crazy story. Obviously, you've learned a lot from it, but you know, I'm sure that there will be a lot of people watching this video who've never heard of it because you know, before you even joined the guild, I had no idea what it was about. So it's really interesting.
Same. I was never involved in boosting. Like, even with my raiding background, I was never really involved in boosting before this. I always wanted to kind of boost for money because gold at the time, right? Because I was that little shithead that's like, nah, it's immoral.
Disco? Sorry.
Yeah. No, but like, I always wanted to boost for gold because I thought if I could put my skills in the game to use to, you know, fund my game, because you can buy WoW tokens and stuff like that with gold legally, I always thought that was, you know, something I wanted to do, but never got involved. So now I am a little bit involved, and you know, it's been a good ride for me. Honestly, I haven't done anything I find to be wrong yet, but who knows?
It's
I don't think there is anything that's.
no.
There's nothing. There's definitely nothing morally wrong with boosting in this game. Like it's not really affecting Blizzard's pocket in any meaningful way.
No,
And,
to me, it's kind of like when someone calls you a cheater in a shooting game. It's just a compliment. Like, for me, being able to do a boost run and just carry this guy in a plus 15 feels good because it lets you put your skills to the test. I'm not boosting yet, but I fucking will be Pink, so let's grind afterwards. But yeah, I don't personally see anything wrong with it because those kind of communities are always going to exist. I'm also of the viewpoint that if you can make money from playing a game, then just do it. But you know, if you want to be opposed to that, then go ahead. But I don't know, it's really just a difference of opinion. Like, why would you be against making money in the game, especially when like a lot of big gaming companies, like Blizzard, in my opinion, is pretty scummy themselves.
yeah, definitely.
All of their decisions are going to be based on money, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean,
And actually, talking about Blizzard's decisions, I think that they're not even maximizing the money they get from players. They're maximizing their meta game of the shareholders. So
do you want to elaborate on that?
So, like, a lot of the things that you see in game that obviously players aren't happy with are somewhat clearly, like you've seen Asmongold talk about this, you've seen, you know, Bellular talk about this, are obviously clearly to increase player engagement with the game, the time they spent in the game, and so on, rather than enjoyment of the game. And so either Blizzard devs don't play enough to understand why these things are frustrating and players don't enjoy them and just see the number, oh yeah, there's more people logged on today than there were yesterday, so it's a good thing. Or they see this player engagement as a key metric that they then send to their shareholders to say, yeah, we're doing well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That seems possible because a few years ago, Blizzard stopped publishing the player base, right?
Yeah. And
So-
I honestly don't think Blizzard are dumb. I really don't think so. I think Blizzard
No.
have their own business model, and they're designing really well around that.
Well, do I think Blizzard is dumb? That's a good question. I think Blizzard is dumb from a play, like, if you're looking at the perspective of what the players enjoy and what they want. Obviously, they make successful games, so there's no arguing they're a good company. They've made Warcraft. Okay, that's a good point. But you know, they've made StarCraft, they've made World of Warcraft, they've made Overwatch, they've made Diablo. They've made Hearthstone. These are all games that have been really fucking popular for an extended amount of time. There's no arguing that. Where the problem lies is how they kind of adapt to the game and add to it, when the game becomes popular. And like the best example for me in that kind of regard is Overwatch. I played Overwatch for years, and it was pretty much all I played during that time. And throughout those 2 years, I got pretty decent rank. I was always high master from like season 3 afterwards, and peaked GM for one season. But I didn't play too much of my main because my friends were only like platinum and diamond. So I made a lot of Smurf accounts, and I would always accidentally get them to masters. So I'd either de-rank it or make a new one. So yeah, I have a lot of experience with Overwatch, and at least like even though they have different teams or departments for the different games, they were dumb as fuck with Overwatch. They made they made changes that people didn't like. They introduced new characters that fucking destroyed the meta. They didn't add content for months on end, and they thought that these like fucking little AI events were actually keeping the players engaged. I mean, the game was great for a while, and then they introduced Bridget, which is a fucking mistake because it just shut down so many compositions. They like I stopped playing the game after 2 years, and I came back to it 1 year later, and they'd only added one new map and one new hero. So, like from a standpoint of just being a player, like their games become very dull because they don't actually fuck around with them too much. They'll make small changes, but it's not always reciprocated too well by the players, and I think you can see that through a lot of their games. You see it in Hearthstone expansions, you see it in World of Warcraft updates, you see it in like every single game they publish and make. And the problem is always player satisfaction with their content, but they're stubborn and they never go back on it. They never admit they made a mistake, but instead they say they changed their mind or something. I think that kind of problem is most severe in a game with WoW because you're quite literally not only expecting, but you're relying on players to be engaged and happy with the content. People will not stick around for content they don't enjoy, regardless of how grindy you make it just to stay up to date. I think it's a big problem.
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, the Overwatch example is very interesting to me because as a player, you're absolutely right. But the game Overwatch was obviously not designed around a competitive player base. If you look at the early, like really, really early stuff from Overwatch, it's clear that Overwatch is the remnant of Project Titan, which is like, been rumored for many, many years about what it is, and it was their attempt at a new generation MMO, right? And then they kind of pulled Overwatch out of it. And then, on top of that, they kind of incentivized Overwatch with like these amazing cinematics, which in my opinion,
they were great. They were great.
Amazing. Yeah. They told some really cool stories. The characters are really cool. And then the game itself was this kind of, ability-driven things, and you see like these kind of, excuse me for saying it like this, but like no skill abilities, like soldiers auto aim, ult,
Bridget Shield Bash.
Exactly. Like obviously there is skill involved in using them properly, right? I'm not debating that, but they were definitely lower skilled than something like Valorant or CS:GO.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to that, the game obviously isn't designed around a competitive environment. The game is actually designed around this kind of let's enjoy a shooter in a fantasy setting and love the lore. But then they didn't put a campaign or any lore missions into it. They didn't do like proper cinematics. They just went, okay, here's a versus mode, enjoy. And then the competitive players came along because maybe they were drawn in by the story, maybe they were drawn in by an ability shooter that didn't really happen so far. And then it was kind of like, well, what do we do from here? And it didn't go down they kind of went in the middle path and pleased no one, right?
I kind of disagree with you with the competitive nature of the game, though. But I actually do kind of like the rest of what you said. You have characters like Junkrat and, others with, kind of easy abilities. So, an example that might be Moira because she doesn't have to aim. And other characters along, in that same vein. But I would argue that there has always been a competitive nature for the game and that it was intended to be competitive because I'm sure that the Overwatch League was something they always envisioned. And it started quite early, and at a point where the game was still very popular. I think the reason the game itself is quite competitive is because of that diversity you can have with team compositions and like how the aspect of communication is so important. You might have a no skill character like Junkrat, which is completely true by all means necessary, but those characters are so simple that they can be easily outplayed by other characters like Genji, Tracer, and even other shit like Zarya. You run a Junkrat, then you pop a Zarya, which is a competitive staple, and you fucking face roll them. So I argue that the simplicity kind of like acts as a foundation in the game which lets people play it in a let's have fun in a shooter, but it's not as hard as CS:GO. But it also still allows for a competitive environment.
No, you're right, but I think that competitive environment is actually an emergent property from the game systems and not a designed thing.
Oh, yeah, then I would agree with you there, to be honest. But it,
Like,
but
people
it,
made
but
it competitive because they wanted to make it competitive because the competitive shooters people were attracted to the game. But Blizzard didn't design it to be this way, you know?
well, I
If you
agree with you,
look
but I
at
think Blizzard wanted a competitive nature for it from the start because Overwatch League was definitely something they were working on for a long time, especially when the game
yeah,
was popular.
they wanted an esports scene, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That's for sure, for sure.
yeah. So, but I think just when it comes to maintaining the game, Blizzard is horrible at it. I mean, sometimes they try to kind of incorporate things that make the player base happy, but then they do it in a way which still displeases the community. The best example I can think of right now is the new corruption vendor, where it's a great thing because we all fucking hate corruptions for the most part and how RNG it is. But then they're
No,
kind of delaying how and when we get it, which is understandably frustrating. But I'm still very happy that the system is in place.
I love corruption, man. I can't ever not defend corruption. Like it. I
Did you
feel
even
like
listen to our podcast last week?
yeah, I did, and I disagreed with it.
Fuck. All right, go on then.
I think that it's actually a pretty good reward for people that have put in that much effort that they've forced the RNG to get all of their best in slot corruption.
Mate, you can't force RNG. Is my
You
opinion.
can force it if you
You
do
can
it as
force it
hard
with
as.
gold.
No, not just gold.
That's a good
You
point.
can force it. Every high-end raider will have their best corruptions by this point in the this tier, and that's just it. Like before the corruption vendor, I mean, like just find a fire mage without like 7 masterfuls last week. You wouldn't have found one because it's not just buying DOEs because there's only 3 of those about. It's about doing literally every bit of content that rewards it.
I disagree with your logic because if we're like, and I'm speaking just in hypothetical terms, but if you do every piece of content which provides you with corrupted pieces, then
Yep.
it is still very possible to not be best in stock corruption on every single piece of gear by
It's
this point.
extremely probable that you are on lots of pieces of gear though.
No, but like I'm saying to be like best in stock in every piece of gear, then it's still very possible. I'm not even saying it's just a little smidge, but it's very possible for it not to be the case. There are lots of people which can just be unlucky, and then a lot of people as well that might like not have the time, and obviously
I've
like
never met a high-end raider that hasn't got that much gear.
that's called
You don't
confirmation
need that
bias.
much gear if you're not a high-end raider anyway. So that to me, it's fine.
I agree with your point about not needing that much gear if you're not a high end raider, but like to me the fact that it's possible, even possible to not get all your best in stock gear by this point just because of RNG is a factor that makes me dislike the system enough.
Yeah.
It's
I think I'm taking a neutral approach here because I see the point that if you kind of play every bit of content, it's very likely that you have a lot of corruptions. Now you can find high-end raiders, even in the top like 10 guilds that don't have their risk corruptions yet. And I haven't pulled up things, but you see like competitive guilds talking about it. Like obviously most do because they not only do every piece of content, but they also buy them. And you saw that a lot in like the world first race. They had like Echoing Void and Infinite Stars and all that like for just the progress bosses, which is fine. But also it's frustrating on a casual level. And actually, video that we're bringing out soon is on difficulty, right, on the YouTube channel. And one of the major points in there is that difficulty is much more pronounced for the casual level than it is for the high end, because the high end is kind of able to compensate for a lot of difficulty by being really good at their character first of all, so they have more attention to put onto the fight. But then also they know everyone else is good as well, so they don't have to make up for as much, which then leads into them they only need the gear in the early phases, and then once they have the gear they just blow through it. Whereas casual guilds like ours in a way will still need much more gear than these high-end guilds just because we're making more mistakes, right?
I have to disagree with that because the actual difficulty of the content that they're clearing at that point requires exactly that level of gear, and it is so fucking difficult to play at that level.
It is
consistently.
difficult to play at that level, definitely. But the reason, like, they're really good, right? There's no denying that, and like they're dealing with the bare minimum of gear for the content they're doing anyway. Like they're not over geared when they're
No,
clearing
no.
it. They're under geared when they're clearing it.
But I mean, I think that's perfect in design, really. I think it should be difficult for casual players still.
Uh,
It
I
should be difficult, but it shouldn't feel difficult because you're lacking the things that, you know, you could
But it
have.
should, because you haven't put in as much effort, and that's what makes an MMO so great, because you can see visible returns in your effort.
I,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
no, I want to expand on. I guess like we can continue with this. I like at least my take on is I kind of disagree because I understand where both of you are coming from, but the reason I disagree with you, Ben, mostly is because you say that you need to have this kind of gear to clear the bosses, but I don't think that's necessarily true. And I'm pretty sure that the first world, N'Zoth kills or whatever, we're not done with 8 or 9 best in slot corruption pieces.
No, of course not.
And like, there's no debating that having 8 masterful corruptions on your fire mages and all those experience on your arms warriors is not going to make the content more trivial. It's definitely going to make it more trivial because you're going to have way higher DPS, and that doesn't necessarily mitigate the fact that you need to actually do the tactics well and everything, but it really cuts down those timers. But the thing is, that's not necessarily my big problem with corruption, which I touched on last week, and I kind of want to expand on it now. My main problem with corruption, besides the RNG, is the fact that it adds a passive, like positive gameplay element, but then provides a negative gameplay element. I don't like that you're getting this stupid fucking damage from infinite stars, which seemingly takes away skill from the player on top of a RNG proc factor, and then adds an active element where you have to fucking get out of the circle or you die, and you get and that shit's annoying. The only exception, and this is what I want to expand on compared to last week, is that there are some corruptions which do actually make your class feel better and provide meaningful gameplay, and I would argue that comes in the form of these percent stat bonuses we're seeing in corruptions like Masterful, Severe, and Expedient. I really like those, and those make the game feel fun to play, and it's like you're playing a fucking like legendary character, and you can really feel it when you've got those corruptions. Seeing the 71% base haste is awesome, and that's great. But the corruptions like Infinite Stars and Twilight Devastation, which are purely proc based and just up to luck, are fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But I didn't say that people needed like 8 masterfuls to clear the content. I was saying that the gear they had at the time, which was still exceptional for that time, it was required, and I think it is every tier that they have near mythic level gear before they even get into mythic.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. They didn't have the gear we have now, but they had gear that was way better than the average. And
obviously, it does trivialize the content now, and I'm actually quite sad about that. Like, I don't like that. Oh, post-corruption vendor N'Zoth kill, haha, that's nothing. Because the content's just so much easier now that it's.
I agree with you there, and I wish they would have gone about it in this way. I wish they wouldn't. I wish now they would revert the nerfs to Mythic that they made a few weeks ago, since they've and maybe even buff the bosses if they want, just because they've introduced this corruption vendor. Because the damage, like people are going to be putting out, is going to be a lot higher, especially in the coming weeks.
Sure.
Yeah,
like I agree in principle, but there is the argument to be made that, as I was saying, like in the chat here, it's not always possible to make people improve, even though obviously we're all in here to help, like, see people improve and see how that pushes people. But sometimes you just gotta have the content kind of outlive its day and let people just progress it. Like, obviously in an MMO there should be something to strive for, but what percent of people actually clear Mythic? It's gotta be somewhere around the 2%, of the population. It's got to be very few people that actually.
I think probably less. Like people that actually get cutting edge, probably 1%.
Yeah. So if it's that few people, I don't mind. Like obviously, raiding itself is not actually that hard anyway on an individual level. It's hard organizationally and stuff like that, but it's not hard on an individual level. So why why is it a big deal then that some people can catch up? I don't really.
Yeah. Oh, the last stats I heard, by the way, was that 10% of people mythic raid and 0.1% get a final boss kill. On the
Shit.
That seems yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, we've always been mythic rating, but only had cutting edge once, and that's mostly because our guild always had fucking little cunts that killed it. But that happens to every guild, which is probably why the number is so low. But yeah, I don't know. I was watching Asmongold today, and he said that he didn't like the new corruption vendor and cloak catch-up system, which, like, I really disagreed with the cloak catch-up system. Having ults and then like grinding for that cloak rank 15 is fucking annoying. Like he was saying that, in order to keep people wanting to play the game and stuff, you need to have those grindy things. But I think it does the opposite effect because it burns people out. I don't want to get my cloak rank 15 by doing 100 visions for like the third time. It's so boring. I hate visions. Just like, I love the new cloak catch-up system, and then they've left the grind for the extra corruption resistance as is, which is perfectly okay. It's so annoying.
I mean, grind itself isn't an issue, right? Like, the concept of grind is not a problem. It's the gameplay loop that's the problem, in my opinion.
Oh, sorry. Someone in my chat said I misunderstood. He wants cloak account wide. Yeah, but if Asmongold wants the cloak account wide, then he's kind of negating his own point because he's saying that people need these grinds on their other characters. I never heard him say that. But sorry, Pink. Continue.
No worries. Like, grind itself, I think, is important in any MMO or game. Like, Monster Hunter is great because you grind. Remnant of the Ashes, there's grind. There's grind in every game that has replay value, and there has to be grind because you can't create infinite, like, new content. It just doesn't.
Of course.
Work. So grind is actually fine, and I don't mind grind. The issue is that the gameplay loop needs to be interesting, and the gameplay loop in WoW for corruptions isn't that interesting. Like, raiding is interesting, and corruptions kind of trivialize that. So I'm with Ben on that sense. But the gameplay loop around corruptions, visions, Mythic Plus are fine as well, but low chance to get corrupted there. So how do you make that more interesting? How do you get people to engage with that? And I think having the vendor or some way to get corruptions in a guaranteed way makes that grind interesting to people psychologically. Because if you have something to work towards, you're naturally going to be more inclined to do things to work towards it. But
that's
if
so
it's
true.
random, you burn out and you're like, okay, I don't really want to do this. Like, I had the time and stuff to farm Bis corruptions before, but a lot of the time I did it for like 2 weeks and then I didn't get my stuff and I was just like, fuck it, man. Like, what's the point? I don't need it to clear anyway. I can get like one piece that's good enough and that'll do. But if there's actually a way to work towards it, I'm going to be much more inclined to do that grind and actually do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I talked big shit about grinding my Rio, my warrior, but it was kind of boring, and it took that corruption vendor for me to like be fucking motivated to get back on my account and just grind Mythic Plus for like 20 hours straight. And obviously that was partly me resetting my sleep schedule, but it doesn't change the fact that like it acts as a strong motivational factor. But it could be that the echoes in the current system are too easy. I could see that. I could see that. The amount of ways you can get echoes and the rate at which they drop is pretty ridiculous. I mean, I farmed 5k echoes in a day.
Oh yeah, you can farm a lot of echoes.
I mean, and I wasn't even doing PvP, which is definitely the fastest way to do it. I was just doing Mythic Plus. You get 250 from your emissary boxes. You get fucking like what 100 per boss on heroic. Like, you literally just get 1200 just from that. It's so fast, and then you get so many from visions. And you should be running your fucking visions anyway because they drop you corrupted items. So, I think I can at least meet you halfway, Ben, in the sense that I dislike the corruption vendor as it is at the moment. One, because of the random nature of when the items are going to come, but two, because it seems too easy to get.
I think the corruption vendor, I also disagree with that. The corruptions are on a weekly kind of rotation, but that's a different point.
Mm-hmm.
I think the corruption vendor should have been in from the start, but much more expensive and hard to achieve, right? So that you can get corruption in a RNG way and get lucky, and that feels good too if you get lucky, right? If the positive effect of RNG, that feels good. but then also have a way to buy the corruptions on the way. So kind of have maybe make the grind 5 times worse, like make them cost the current amount but drop the original value of echoes, and then have the ability to buy a corruption just like now the whole time. And that way then, by now, everyone will have their BIS corruptions because everyone will have bought them and the RNG would be irrelevant. But at the start, the RNG may have been there and people could feel good about it.
I
That's
agree with
my
that.
personal opinion.
I agree with that because now it makes it, well, okay, before it was really frustrating when you were grinding your corruptions with, most like through most possible avenues and you just weren't getting lucky. I mean, on my mage for like 2 months straight, no, I shouldn't say 2 months, but like, because I rerolled like 6 weeks ago or some shit. But yeah, for my mage, just for weeks on end, I was getting the worst corruptions possible. Leech, taking damage gives versatility. Crit strike, stacking crit buff. Like, I was getting absolute dog shit, and it feels so bad because you're relying on this randomness. I think if you had just a guaranteed way to get corruptions from the start, but it was a big grind, then not only motivates players to keep playing the game, which is obviously what Blizzard wants to, engagement, but it makes it feel like when you get a random corruption, it's not the biggest deal because you just have to grind a bit more and you can at least get one.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben? Do you disagree?
No, I actually do agree with that because not only is the corruption vendor really encouraging people to get back into the game, like the game felt really empty without it. I think you just did your visions, and if you really wanted to, you'd do your dailies.
I agree.
But really, there was nothing to do except the obvious repeatable thing, which is M plus or PvP.
Dude, I did dailies on 2 characters every single day for 6 weeks.
No, what I really miss though is going back to content you wouldn't really do and it actually having a use.
Time walking?
No, I just mean stuff like what Echoes rewards. You can just go out and do an emissary and it's actually worth it now.
Mm-hmm.
You could.
Yeah, this is a huge topic that I really want to get into, like in general. Just that like old content in some way needs to be relevant because it isn't, right?
I agree. I hope they're doing it for Shadowlands because I've seen aspects of ICC being very important, or maybe it's just in the lore. But I would love it if they, reworked old dungeons or introduced old stuff into the new. I mean, for example, in BFA, we're kind of going to old areas like Autumn and doing the assaults and stuff there, which is nice. But I'd love for that kind of stuff to be more relevant because you go to an old area now and it's just pointless. I mean, the thing about other MMOs is that the whole world is active, right? I mean, obviously WoW has a massive environment. There's so many places, so you can't expect every single area to be full because it would just kind of fuck the servers and whatnot. And it would probably feel empty because of how big it is. But there needs to be more of an emphasis on different and older content in the current content. I agree with that.
Like, old content has been designed and took money for Blizzard as well, so it's just economically to find a way to reuse it, right? And I don't mean to just maybe do time walking, and just 'cause time walking feels pointless, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is.
But find interesting things to do. Like what we were saying before, like reuse old bosses in Torghast, make Torghast the stable system that, or some kind of scaling dungeon that you can do that rewards content throughout the expansion, right? Like, even if just all the content systems in an expansion were used, that would be a good step forward, because right now we're playing a patch. Even Uldum and stuff, we're not doing stuff from Battle of Desire lore patch anymore, at all. And it's kind of a shame because that was designed and people did engage with that, and some people liked it, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. But who knows if they're gonna do it with Shadowlands? That's why I said last week that I would love to see old raid bosses appear in Torghast. I think it would be so cool. It would give so many players the experience or an opportunity to partake in kind of raids and encounters they've never experienced. For me, that's a big thing because I only started in Mists of Pandaria, and same for you, Ben, having started in Legion. I think it would be really cool. What do you think? What do you think about that, Ben?
No, I would love to, in a more meaningful way than just visions, go back and reuse old stuff. Some people call it low effort because it's they're not bringing anything new to the table, but I also think there's a lot of history in this game that can be explored on more, and I'd definitely love to see it, especially if it's like remastered.
Oh yeah, like I think if they remaster it, then it would be great. I wouldn't want to go back to an area and just like get that 360p chest,
Yeah, like,
and
obviously-
do the same shit. That's boring.
Obviously, they shouldn't do something like, okay, now this week you're clearing vanilla molten core. Like that's bullshit, right? It's just
Yeah.
stupid.
It's like, all right, guys, for Mythic today, just stand out of the fire. Can you manage that? Just one fire pool or one player every 30 seconds. Just spread, okay? Like it'll be so boring. The old Mythic content is dumb.
Yeah, but using the history of the game, like it takes a lot of
Mhm.
pressure off of design. It takes a lot of pressure off of ideas, and just using that to make content, or actually just make content that can be recurrently run, is the future, I think, because people blow through content and stuff way too quickly.
Yeah.
Even raids, like if we look at the lifetime of raids, they're way too short for the amount of investment that they have, and like that's on the top end, right? But people lose interest as well. Like they're not cleared by everyone, but the top end that clears them so quickly that they don't really get a value out of them, if you know what I mean.
So this just came to my mind, right? But I feel like it's an important point to introduce in the conversation right now. What do you think about the state of the game consistently bringing out raids which last for too long before the next expansion comes out? In every single expansion, the raid lasts for like 6 months, and it becomes so trivial and boring. I would love to see even a short raid before a new
Yeah.
expansion comes out.
That's literally all I'd want, really.
Something like
Yeah,
Trial
I'd
of
like
Valor.
I'd like another Trial of Valor or Crucible of Storms.
Yeah.
Maybe Sanct, maybe
size
best
raid?
example.
I think it's boring. Give players something to grind for and achieve before a new raid comes out, because a lot of players just dip out before a new expansion because the content's done and it's been done
Yeah.
for a long time.
I don't know about before every new raid, but I definitely think before the end of the expansion, yeah, there's just too long of a gap between new content.
For sure. I'm not. Yeah, definitely not before every new raid, but like for sure before every new expansion, because the content becomes trivial.
The issue I see is obviously that it takes some resources away from encounter design team or whatever. You can have a B team make them, but then they wouldn't be high quality as well. And I don't know.
Give us a stick. I don't care. Give us a stick boss.
Yeah, no.
Give us a
I
rock.
agree. But I think that having that content that is relevant throughout the whole expansion and enjoyable and repeatable is just as good.
Bro, I want a raid where we have a stick boss, a paper boss, and a rock boss, and then the last boss is rock paper scissors.
Oh my god.
And then how do you beat it? You have to like smash one
Yeah.
boss into the other.
No, yeah, exactly. Like if the fucking rock and paper boss are next to each other, then you get the scissors. You kill the paper, and you just you go from there. Honestly, put me on Blizzard. Put me on the team.
Insane, man.
Yeah, Blizzard's gonna be like, damn, we gotta hire this guy. Let's go.
100%.
But I guess like a big reason a lot of people stay and keep playing the game right before the expansion is just because of like the relationships you build from them. Like, I mean, I don't think I would have played to the end of any expansion if I didn't have friends, actually
Yeah.
playing
definitely.
through them. Even doing Mythic Plus, which is honestly such a good addition to the game. I want like
Yeah, see? Repeatable, relevant content. That's what I said, man.
Exactly.
This is a good example.
Mythic Plus is great because you can challenge yourself to a really high degree, and it's great, especially if you have like with friends. I mean, obviously, like I met Youth Pink through WoW, and like we've known each other for years now. Ben, same with you. Ben met a little girlfriend on WoW. You know how it is,
Yeah.
fucking player. I actually was really good friends with the girl from WoW like a few years ago. We spoke all the time, but that kind of died down because of like mental health reasons, but on my end. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I don't know, how do you like approach that, Ben? Like, with, I guess you're just naturally maybe charismatic, but and then you become friends with people without morals. But
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Um,
Yeah, well, actually, what I want to know from you, scrap that. How do you get it? Again, this is what all our viewers need, because let's be honest, if they're coming to a gaming channel and they're watching for World of Warcraft content, then they need this. How do you date a girl after meeting her on World of Warcraft?
Man, it's just the impressive healing, dude. Admit it, Root. That's what it was. It was the insane healing.
Insane healing?
I don't know what
The numbers were big?
Root's showing me. I have no idea at all. I can't help
bro.
you there.
Those
All-
are big
all the
HPS
gold.
numbers.
All the gold, yeah?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I was just arrogant.
Maybe you were just...
as a cunt.
Oh, true. Women love assholes, don't they? So pro tip out there, everyone. Just be a fucking cunt to every woman you meet, and then maybe one day she'll be stupid enough to date you.
Yep, summed up pretty well.
Is that why you broke up? Because you're too nice now?
Oh shit, there is
Person
correlation.
lost their
I'm sorry, Ben, but like, you always tell me you love me, and then you buy nice things for me. What the fuck? Okay, why can't you just slap me and just like throw me away like trash? You piece of shit, loving nice guy. Abuse me, please, please just hurt me.
Is Root even here? I don't think so. Unlucky.
I don't know. I don't think so, but. Yeah, I don't know. Was it actually like anything you did? Was it like was it something you would have considered before you even started dating her? Like to date a girl
No.
like you met on what? Because for me, like I never would have considered, but I can see how it happens because I've become like good friends with people around. You know, like some women too.
Including
Like,
Root.
mate, I wouldn't say we're good friends, no.
No.
But
Unfortunate, dude.
I've known her like a week. Calm down. Can't get married yet, okay?
I do think on a gameplay perspective though, and you can disagree with me here, but I think World of Warcraft's actually a bad game. Like
Oh.
an actual bad game. But
Why?
because the systems, like compare World of Warcraft to something like Witcher or Monster Hunter or something, it's way less engaging from a gameplay perspective. But, and here's the major thing, it's way more fun to play because of that social aspect, and that's the like niche that MMOs have carved out. Like, there's no MMO out there that I think is a really good game. I think they're all pretty shit.
Get rid of big wigs and it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine you had fucking DBM on No Gigante, dude. It's like, okay, in 2 seconds, No Gigante is gonna like slam on the ground, move.
Well, that doesn't work for Monster Hunter specifically because shit's fast, man.
Yeah.
Like, but fair enough. I do agree with that, but like even then, Monster Hunter would be more engaging in my opinion, and it looks
Okay.
better and it feels smoother to play and all this kind of stuff.
Monster,
I think-
yeah. It's the most challenging game I've played, probably. With some games like Witcher on the highest difficulty and Dark Souls, but it's a fantastic game and it really fills in its niche perfectly.
But
And
no
how
matter
to
what
lose
you
it.
play, I think World of Warcraft has examples of those mechanics, but it just doesn't feel them as good as other games that are single player or other types of multiplayer. And just MMOs in general are kind of trash games. But it's the social aspect, right?
Mhm.
Like if you can make connections, real connections with friends, then they become really good, right? And that's the special thing about MMOs, and that's kind of why I enjoy them and why I've been super invested in MMOs, because it's the only game where I can really, you know, say, okay, this is where I've got a home, really, right? Like a guild is a home, people you enjoy playing with. I've made lifelong friends here, and it's great.
No, it's true. I mean, the reason I go into Monster Hunter and really enjoy it is because the first time I ever saw No Gigante and you know, like saw that cutscene, I was pissing myself and sweating. It was fucking scary, and killing it on the first try after like 30 minutes was so rewarding and so fun. The reason I love WoW is because the content, yeah, is challenging and it feels great, especially when you do it with a guild and you know you finally do it after like 100 wipes or something like that. But it's really just the social element. I wouldn't like, and Pink, you can vouch for me really hard here because I only ever play WoW when like good like friends I know are playing the game and I join their guild. I wouldn't have gone back into WoW if a few of my friends weren't playing it. It is like the main reason I play it. You know, and then you get and then you get to make new friends like Ben and fucking like Ralish and Nello, and then you get to meet some cute girls like Rude. It's
yeah.
you get to steal people's ex-girlfriends, find them on Tinder, make fun of them.
Thirsty fucker.
Nah, I'm kidding. God, everyone's gonna call me a simp. Nah, but yeah, I'd rather I've talked about this before on stream, but this whole simp cock meme is really stupid. I understand it's Twitch and you know the chat in general is really dumb and stupid, and you see that through emotes like KW. But the whole point of it is stupid. You know, if you want to compliment a girl and you have the confidence to do it, then just fucking go for it because it's nice for both of you. You know, you tell a girl she looks pretty and like it maybe helps her self-confidence a bit, and at least you're not a fucking little bitch that is too scared to even talk to her. Like, look, as long
Compliments in general are not. There's not enough of them.
yeah.
People don't compliment.
People are afraid to be nice, and like if you even interact with a woman these days, then you get called a simp. It's fucking retarded. Like,
Yeah, no, I do agree.
and if you don't talk, so if you talk to women, you get called a simp, and if you don't talk to them, you're a cuck. So you're really just not winning.
Yeah,
It's fucking
Self-hatred.
stupid, man. Yeah, it's self-hatred. Yeah, people aren't nice enough these days. You know, if I say if you want to compliment a girl, then just fucking go for it. If you want to if you want to meme around and flirt, then fucking go for it. If you want to actually like go for a girl and like maybe try to do so, then go for it. But don't diss people or like be a card or even believe the whole simp meme. Just because you're jumping on the bandwagon.
Let's decouple it from genders a bit, because I think
Women
there's
simp,
not
yeah.
enough compliments towards men as well, and toward like women to women, man to man, woman to man, man to woman. Like there isn't enough compliments at all in any case.
True. Yeah, you're right. And like also someone in my chat said they butchered the real meaning of simp, which is why it's retarded now. And they've done it with the incels too. if you fucking say, oh, women are dumb, then you get called an incel straight up. Like that is not what the meaning of it is. Like, yeah, but I agree with you there, Pink, because yeah, like compliments are just a scarcity these days. People are afraid to be nice to each other. And maybe it's because they think if they do, then they're weak. But I think it shows the opposite.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know. It's what do you think about it, Ben?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think it's ever used. I don't think simp is overused.
I
feel
think
like
it is.
as a meme, maybe, but
Maybe it will die down, but like I swear there are so many people that will call you a simp and then actually mean it.
really.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
Oh,
100%.
yeah, that's stupid then.
I think it's dumb. Like if you interact with a girl, then it's simping. It's like, bro, I need to get married at some point in my life. Give me a break. I think the only exception is when you're actually being a simp and you're just really hardcore stalking a girl, making her uncomfortable. If you're doing that, then it's something that's wrong. You know, you shouldn't be going out of your way, and you should really know your limits. Like it's completely fine to just compliment and talk to a girl if it's like some mutual thing, and even flirt, because like flirting is just fun, so who cares? But if you're kind of consistently maybe even being a bit harassful and the woman's not comfortable with it, or even the guy, then stop being a simp, dude. Stop simping, you simpaholic. Otherwise I think it's fine. I think it's fine, man. Like if you want to talk to women, if you want to compliment women, if you want to flirt with them, it's fine, man. Vincent just said, my roommate just said in my chat, women are dumb. No, women are dumb. Vincent, come on, mate. Women are dumb.
Whammons.
Good.
Wow, fucking cuck, dude. Wow.
Dude, whammons, man. Am I right?
Whammons, fucking whammons. I don't know, do you think, like, fucking women simp for guys too, though, but they never get called out on it? Obviously it's not simping, but...
Well, that's actually a really interesting perspective. I read this analysis on it like recently, where like women get so much attention from guys, both sexually and kind of just like stocky and weird, that immediately guys get called out for it, right? And it's uncomfortable for the woman, and that's fair enough. You should stop that, by the way. But guys never get that kind of thing. Like, we don't have women running after us. We don't have that kind of positive sexual attention or even like affection attention just from randomers. Obviously, if you're in a relationship, you do. But when that then happens, even in an unhealthy way, guys tend to latch onto that and like it, and therefore women don't get called out because it's seen as a positive, even if it's harmful.
Right. That makes sense. That's interesting. What do you think about that, Ben?
No, yeah, I kind of agree, to be honest.
My roommate just said, sorry, women are dumb. If you're David Beckham, you got loads of girls running after you. Yeah, but if you're Margot Robbie, you got lots of guys running after you. So what's the point? If you're it's about being famous, right? Imagine simping over a guy. Rude, you literally sub to me when you can destroy his ego. So in my chat just said, imagine simping over a guy when you can just destroy his ego. Can confirm, she has done that to me multiple times. But I bounce back. You know, I go in and she fucking slams me to the ground, and I'm back here, ready to go again. Talk to you after, Rude.
Main character shonen, dude. Like, easy.
True.
Nah, but like, obviously there's gonna be women running after David Beckham. There's women running after famous men, but that's just people running after famous people. I'm talking the average person here.
Yeah. Like, you're an average guy going for an average girl, then... That being said, like, if you think about... Okay, let's take... So, in my stream, I go on Tinder all the time. And if you go on someone's Tinder who is gay or a woman, then holy shit. Literally, like, turn the setting down from apocalypse death mode you or die to let's have a walk in the park. This is fun. Because you just get matches, man. Even if you're like an average looking girl, you get matches. It is so fucking easy. It's like going from Mythic to LFR. Okay, that's a bad comparison because LFR groups are retarded, but the difficulty of it. I'd argue Mythic with a good group is easier than LFR. But
What the fuck?
On this off, yeah, for sure.
on this, I haven't done LFR Nizolth yet because it's impossible.
It's so fun, mate.
Fuck that. But yeah, like,
Me and a good tank friend.
oh my god.
Psychic
Jesus
down in the
Christ.
shit realm. That was good.
Wow. But yeah, if you're a girl and you go on Tinder, then it is ridiculously easy because women just do get so much attention. You know, it's commonplace in our society, you know, since the dawn of time, pretty much, where men are the ones making the moves and doing the gestures and all of that stuff in order to get the woman. That's how it is, and you know that's kind of how our society has played its role for a long time. And you know,
Biological roots, though.
that is what, sorry,
Biological.
Yeah, of course, and you see it, you know, not just in humans, you know, like the bird doing the dance, and that kind of shit. But it doesn't change the fact that it really is a lot easier for women to get guys. But I think that is purely a product of guys having to be the one to go after it. If you're a guy and you never ask out women, then you're probably not gonna have many girlfriends. But if you're a girl, and you're not asking out guys, then you're probably fine, especially if you're attractive.
And look at it from the biological side. If the whole idea of evolution and biology and reproductive systems is that you want to spread on your genetic code, right? For
Damn
women,
straight.
that's literally just, you know, get pregnant, give birth. Like, obviously, there's way more to it, and it's fantastic. I'm not trying to degrade anything.
I've studied this, so yeah.
In order for men to pass on, they actually have to attract someone, right? Like, so that's why there has to be a lot more effort on.
Well,
that
women
side.
do as well.
They do, but it's much easier because both want to pass on their genes. So there's going to be 5 guys lining up. and
So
then
I
you
can
get-
I can tell you at least what I believe from my studies is the main reason, and it's because men can go on and fuck as many women as they want and spread their genes every single day if they just fuck all the women, right? It's fine. But women not only need to find a guy that can get them pregnant, but they also need to find someone who is willing to stick around and care for the baby. Because that's their role as, you know, a woman and mother, at least in biological terms. So please don't fucking SJW me.
We don't
so-
mean gender roles right now in society.
Yeah, exactly. I just mean exactly. So biologically, like, women are, you know, fine-tuned and programmed to look for men that will not only fuck them and impregnate them, but will also stick around for the baby, and on top of that, be a good father and provide, you know, income and resources. So, whereas men are the opposite. We can just fuck off and, you know, shag this girl here and then fuck another girl there, and it accomplishes the same biological need, but to a different extent because we have no commitment biologically. So in that regard, it's why women probably.
If you're talking about reproduction as well, the best strategy is what you said. Like, if you want to have as much genetic spread, it's much more relevant to go around and just kind of spread it everywhere than it is to, you know, impregnate one and stay there. You lose genetically by doing that.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah.
I mean, I'm not like,
Yeah.
obviously it's better for society to do that.
Yeah. Well, as opposed, like, okay, but if you want the best way, just have a harem and fuck 100 girls a day, and don't die.
100 different girls a day. That's
100
the best
different
way.
girls. Yeah. So Vincent said you could always get with them girls at the end of a club night who are just looking for sex. That's true. They're called sluts, and they will be there.
And they're fine too. If you want to do that, that's cool, man. And girls, like, do what you want.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting then why, and I guess it's mainly due to like different experiences that people have, but you will find a very mixed proportion of guys who just want to sleep and fuck everything compared to those who actually want to just be with one girl. And, you know, personally, I've always kind of been the guy to just like want to be in a relationship with one girl, but like I'm very specific towards my like requirements for that. But then I know a lot of guys in general who just like don't want relationships and want to like fuck random girls, which might be the majority, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to it as well that we are a social species, and there is value in social connections, even if the best strategy is to just go and spread. There's definitely value in sticking around, just because there's more to it than just spreading your genes, right?
Yeah.
But like, I've always been the type to be in long relationships as well. I mean, I'm in my current relationship singular for 7.5 years, so it's pretty good, man.
Damn. That's impressive.
I mean, what Rue just said is like, guys doing it is fine, but girls doing that makes them sluts. And obviously, she's talking about fucking lots of people. And I guess
is only down to what we were saying before, and I think that's.
Well, no, but that's how it is in society today.
Yeah, I know, but in a society way, I think that's actually incorrect. I think sexual expression should be free, and everyone should be allowed to do what they want.
I agree, but it doesn't change the fact that it's not going away. I had a conversation with my one of my best friends literally like a week ago, and he was saying, and he's been talking and dating this girl, and she told him that she's fucked like 18 guys or some shit, and he was just like, dude, she's a fucking whore, even though he's fucked like enough girls himself. But like
the what is it? The famous example was like, a key that can open many locks is really useful. A lock that can be opened by many keys is kind of pointless, which is just memeing. But like, I think fundamentally we have to disconnect reproduction and sex as a society, and we're not. And sex should be fun and able to be with whatever you want, and then reproduction should be with singular person as much as possible. And that's for both guys and girls.
No, Rude, you said that. I just said it just now that the girls looking for sex is sluts. I was talking about what Vincent said at the end of the night. Those guys would be sluts too. I'm not like being gendered about it. Like, I've always been the kind of guy to just like go for like be like, oh, I can't fucking English. I've always been the kind of guy that doesn't focus on like fucking everyone, and I prefer to be with one girl in a relationship. But even though I said that, girls at the end of a night in a club looking for sex starts, doesn't mean that the guys doing that aren't the exact same thing. So for me, it's not a gendered thing. I don't really care if a girl has fucked a lot of guys compared to if a guy has fucked a lot of girls. But biologically speaking, like, I understand the stigma in society. Does enjoying sex make you a slut? No, but depending on how much, maybe a sexaholic. Or sex addict, sorry.
Yeah, is there anything wrong with that?
Nope, I don't think so. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying sex at all, but it is just that for me and like a lot of other people, that enjoyment comes down to it being with one person you really care about, whereas other people don't necessarily don't really care about that as much. It's not as much of a factor or of a factor.
I've always advocated this in my personal life, just talking about it. Like, I've never actually done it, and I will not do it either, because there's you can't change society or relationships or what people are doing. But I think sex should be like just the enjoyment, the act of it. It would be more healthy to be separated from emotional like love side. Then you can choose: do you want to do it with only the one person that you really care about, or do you want to like sleep around and do whatever you want, as long as you're being safe, of course. And I kind of like look to old Greek as a kind of an ideal, because there you even had like bisexual relationships within marriages and stuff. Like, you had like the lord of the house and the wife of the house and the lady of the house, and they're together, but then as they're like foreplay, they would have the servants give them a handy on the side, like just enjoying that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like Game of Thrones, and it's a good example of people just enjoying sex, where
Exactly.
Prostitutes are not something that's frowned upon at all, but instead rather something of status. Whereas now it's banned in several countries, and doesn't make sense why.
Like, you piss off your best friend, and it's like, okay, fuck it, I'll give you a bro job.
No, I can't imagine that, to be honest. But like,
hilarious.
And I bring up this point because it's something I remember from the lyrics of a song, and I want to say the song is "Let Me Know" by Whit Larry, and he's a great artist. But he says one thing about our generation having taken love out of sex, which I think is definitely true. And for me, that's something important, right? Because I'm not the kind of guy to just sleep around, and it's fine if other people do, by all means. But like, for people like me it's somewhat frustrating or annoying.
Yeah, and both should be accepted, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like it's become the overwhelming majority, at least in younger people.
Oh yeah, which is I think a positive direction as long as that love side still exists.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Ben, what do you think? Because you haven't really chimed in too much. What's your take on the whole situation?
I don't
Does sex make you uncomfortable, mate?
No,
You're too young, mate.
Pick this turn the fucking.
Rude said you were really bad in bed, and that's why you're not talking.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Whatever. I don't know. I really. I just want people to live their life, man. I couldn't give a fuck either way.
Yeah, but how other people live their life affects how you.
But they can't live their life because you stole all their gold, dude.
I don't. True.
Okay.
I honestly like.
I mean, obviously, if people just have their own thing and they do whatever, then yeah, absolutely, you're right.
I can't give a fuck either way what people do. Like, legitimately, it doesn't affect me in the slightest. I don't know.
I mean, that should be how it is, right? But in a society, everyone's views does impact on other people. And I do agree that the best thing is just like live and let live. But you do have to conform to certain social norms because that's just how it is. Like.
Yeah, and even for me as a guy that like really kind of picks out my sexual partners carefully, to say the least. Like, I don't want to sleep around with some girl. It's something I've done in the past, and it's probably the main reason why I don't do it anymore. For me, every time something like that has happened, it's always been meaningless, and it's made the experience not too rewarding and just not fun. But then I've been with women who I really care about, and that's been fucking great. So for me, the distinction is really between those experiences. But I bet for other people, they've had great sex with people they didn't give a fuck and never saw them again, but they wanted to do that kind of thing again. I think that's fine. You know, obviously for both genders, it doesn't matter. But it is a bit of a shame that most people don't. I don't know. Not that they have different opinions or wishes, but that you just see a lot of. They don't. Yeah, exactly. Like these days, like if you're a guy and you say you've slept with like, I'll just like spitball a random number, but like say you're like 30 and you slept with 5 girls as a guy, then like that would be a low number among your peers, right? But if you're a girl and you're 30 and you've slept with 5 guys, then it's like, whoa, okay, let's slow down. I think that's fucking dumb, right? It depends on who you are and what you prefer.
I'm kidding. I'm 28 and I've had 4 partners sexually.
Respect it. Like again, to me, it's all about what your preferences are and like what like. There's no point forcing yourself to, you know, do something like you know isn't gonna make you happy. I mean, even recently, I've like been thinking like, okay, especially after you know the last girl I was with, it made me just want to get with other women and not care about it. But even like going down that path made me realize that it still wasn't for me, even with the aspect of closure and all that. Like I don't know, I've only been with like 3 girls, man, and like I couldn't care less, and it doesn't affect my like self-confidence at all because it's fucking stupid to base your ego off a number. Like what you should be basing your self-confidence on is who you are as a person, and like if you're taking the right steps towards being that person, because it's never going to be like a job that's done.
Yeah, if you want to do something, then go for it, but don't be like, yeah, I'm the big king boy.
Exactly.
Like 20 partners.
You're not a fucking gangster because you fucked 100 girls. It means you've gone out at least twice a week and gone drunk and then hooked up with randoms.
Yeah, and it's important that you're not a pure little maiden because you haven't had any. You know, do what makes you happy. If you don't want to do anyone, perfect. If you want to do 20, perfect.
It's good. Yeah, it's like I couldn't give less of a shit if you go out and fuck, you know, five women a week, but it doesn't make you better than me. So don't act like it does, because that is an overwhelming trend in today's society, I think. At least men, anyway.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, really.
Do we?
I've never really thought about it. I genuinely never actually considered my opinion on it. I maybe it has affected.
I guess you're younger, so it makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I know when I was younger, it was definitely the mindset of, all right, well, let's fuck women, because you know so that sounds fun, and then you have a few experiences of just fucking random girls, and it was pretty unrewarding for me at least. But obviously, I guess our experiences define who we are. So yeah, but I don't know, man. It's a big topic.
In long-term relationships. I've had one short-term relationship only, and that was like crazy. So
Yeah, the sad and ironic part for me is that like I very much value being in relationships and being with the girl I really care about. And like I've had those moments in the past for sure, but I haven't been in like a proper long-term relationship for a long fucking time. It's been years, and it's because I'm kind of stingy with like the kind of girl I want to be with. It doesn't necessarily come down to looks, because as long as the attraction is there, then it's fine. But like for me, the personality is so important. I maybe haven't been trying enough, to be honest, but it just oftentimes is not there, and it's very rare to find someone you click with on that level, and then go into a relationship. You have to be lucky to a large degree, in my opinion.
and you have to build it.
Yeah, you can't force it. That's for sure. So, we have gone for a while, but do we want to talk a little bit about some other stuff? I've just got written down here, and then we can maybe call it quits. I don't know how long we've been going. We've been going for a bit.
Sorry about that. Like that kind of tangent isn't really part of our podcast identity, but it's pretty good to talk about it.
Bro, I love that tangent. Fuck it. I don't know, at least for me, this podcast is obviously gonna include gaming because it's the focus of our channel, but I'm so happy to talk about random shit.
Yeah.
I think as long as other people enjoy it, it's fine, but I don't want to be like restricted to just gaming.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, so okay, I guess but saying we're saying that, let's go back to gaming a bit. Right now we are progressing Il'gynoth on Mythic, and I wasn't actually there for the raid, but I was watching the whole thing, and gosh, that looks boring as fuck.
Man, it really is.
What do you guys take on it? Pink, you were pissed.
I like pushing my combust button and doing 130k. It's fun.
As you put your details, ignite go brr.
Hey, can you please make your details top DPS mage?
No, dude.
Il'gynoth Mythic is easy if people move. Smile. I know, rude. Yeah, you were kind of tilted.
Like the issue with Il'gynoth is that, and I will be pointing out this specific problem with raiding in general in our video again, but it's that individually there's like nothing to do. You stand in your spot, and sometimes you get focused by something and you have to move. Like, it's the problem that like, if you're not really well coordinated, it's just shit. It's just a shit show then, because then you're cleaving off people, and it's like, yeah, that guy moves into my zone, and
it's probably the no dispel strat is probably the perfect example for our video next to Raden.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's really boring because on an individual level, there's like nothing to do, and you still wipe because some fuckers run over the stuff on the floor because they had one fuck up, like one mistake, like slip of the mind, which happens, right? I'm not saying they're dumb or bad for doing it. That kind of thing happens, and then you wipe even though you did no mistake, and then you're getting tilted because it's so boring, and then you go into it again, and then you fuck up because you're tilted and bored, and then you wipe the raid, and then it happens to someone else. And
it harkens back to stuff like maidens and stuff like that, and it's really just, I don't know. I find that it affects lower progress guilds a lot more than other bosses because it's a lot of personal responsibility.
Yeah, I've noticed that you, not you guys in particular, but the raid was very tilted, and it's confusing because it was the first night attempting the boss, so I don't see why you have these expectations to kill it so quickly.
I don't think anyone had the expectation to kill it quickly.
It seems like people did.
No, I think it's the feedback cycle of like, I didn't do anything wrong, and most people didn't do anything wrong, but we wiped anyway.
But it's the same shit with Vexiona, right?
Yep.
Right. It's the same shit with Raden. It's the same shit with Zanesh.
Yeah, but it's just something that is psychologically hard to
disengage from. I can see how it's annoying for sure. But like, I think the atmosphere was like almost a bit too much in the raid. It wasn't like that negative, but like, especially because we're like a mythic guild, but we're still casual to a large degree. It was like very high tension. Like you could have honestly cut it with a knife, and that's
I'll be honest,
kind of annoying.
It's I find that this kind of guild is carried by the upper half, and when the bottom half have to do individual mechanics just as well as the top half, it goes to shit for a long time until they catch up.
That's how it's always been for our guilds, Pink.
Yeah, always.
You remember Graphical?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable in middling guilds. Like if you're in a guild that's progressing still, right? You're gonna have that issue. The top end
Yeah.
don't have that issue because they can recruit the cream of the crop. But if you're middling and you're just kind of progressing through, then you have to be carried by, you know, a few people that are good at dealing with stuff, and then a few people who might pump ridiculous numbers, and then the rest are kind of sitting there being cogs,
Yeah.
doing nothing really. Like they're there for their numbers and they're not really there for anything else. And then I don't want, like, obviously the people we have, I really like all of them, so I'm not trying to shit talk anyone. And if it comes across that
Just
way,
say my name, dude.
yeah, like obviously Joey. No, but like there's gonna be more mistakes from certain people than there is from other people, right? That's just the fact. And every guild deals with that. Every guild I've made in the past that has been even like top 500 world, because any guild I've made, like that's kind of the highest I got to, I think, in Wrath. But it doesn't matter. Like the guilds I make always struggle with a skill difference. The big skill differential is just normal for like middling guilds and new guilds, and Horn of Gondor is both. Right? We're new. We don't have an established core of like 15 really good people. It's kind of like swapping in and out people, and yeah, it just happens, man.
We've swapped out a lot of people since I've even joined the guild. A lot. I mean, just think about it. We had, and I'm not gonna talk, like, I'm not discussing them as to their skill or anything, but off the top of my head, we had like Oxynorm, Usko, Ratras, Tommy. Like, then, you know.
Oh yeah, where did Tommy go?
He stopped raiding, dude.
Yeah, he was good though.
He was really good, man. He made Ret Power look fucking broken. But yeah, I mean, it really is the case where it's gonna be the top people consistently not making mistakes unless they're tilted for the most part, and that's gonna bring the morale down. I don't know. Maybe it was just because I was watching, right? But it did seem like the attitude. Sorry.
No, sorry, no, go on. I was just gonna say, I know I started tilting halfway through.
Yeah, I saw.
Alleviating it by messaging you and leaning around.
Yeah, you were literally... Pink, you know, me and Ben were literally talking to each other on Discord the whole fight, and he was messaging me within a GCD. So, one of the times when he accidentally, like, left a pool on the organ, and, like, Sammy started screaming, it's literally because I messaged him and he was typing to me.
You shouldn't do that. As an officer, you shouldn't do that. But,
Bro, you don't understand how quickly he types. He can literally... I swear he was literally messaging me during a combust. Like within a GCD. Within a GCD, dude. And he was still doing 130k DPS.
It's all that experience messaging
It's
people.
fucking crazy. Yeah, that's true. He types so fast. But
like for me, I was tilting as well. But for me, it was literally that, like,
'cause you're bored.
It's so boring. I'm sitting there, tunneling the boss. Oh, I have a beam on me. Press turtle and stand still. Okay. Rip DPS.
and I can ice block that, right? Even with the no dispel strat, or no?
Not with the no dispel strat, I think, but I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't dispel.
Because I'm not sure if they changed it or not. It does,
It
okay.
doesn't dispel anything.
Oh.
It doesn't dispel anything, but you can get rid of the mind control. Sorry, that's what I mean.
Ah, yes, save it for mind control, right? I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like to me at a certain point, like with the pools or some shit, like at least, and I love Simon. He's honestly super chill raid leader and nice guy. But like, but there was one point where he just kind of like snapped and got a bit angry, and then in conjunction with Ben being a bit like passive aggressive as he can be sometimes, it just brings down the other Ben. Sorry, with the other Ben being a bit passive aggressive sometimes, it just brings down the fucking mood, man. Like if I'm like, even if I'm not doing anything wrong, but people are passively shit talking, then it annoys me and tilts me, and it's gonna be harder to kill the boss. Like, I don't want a guild situation where it's like, hey guys, it's fine, like, just make mistakes and we won't even, like, go over it. Don't worry about it, we'll get there. No, that's fucking stupid because that's blind optimism. Obviously, if you have problems, you should address them. But if you've literally just got people whining and being annoyed, then you're not going to kill it.
Yeah, it's about learning and fixing the issues and identifying them. It's not about complaining, right? If you're just complaining and bitching, it doesn't help. If you identify them and say, this is how we fix them, that's good.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't know. I hope it's been on Sunday and that people aren't tilted, but like, and obviously, I don't think most people had the expectation of killing in the first night, but the mood,
I thought we would.
The mood did seem a bit too low for what it was. Well, we'll definitely fucking kill it tomorrow, especially with me and my fire mage. And
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'm so curious to see the DPS increase I'll be doing because I now have double on use and like four
if you
masterfuls.
can remember to press the fucking unused trinkets.
Oh, I need your weak aura, Ben. But yeah, I'll remember. I guess it's just like I know that I font it around 35% on the organ.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
So it's okay. That's why I was watching you mostly, Ben. Also because it was entertaining, but
Hell yeah.
so I actually learned the fight just by doing it, or just by watching it. So yeah, but
I think, how was Il'gynoth before the nerfs actually? Because right now the fight just seems so bullshit unless someone stands in one of the black shit on the floor and then just pops the whole raid. How was it before?
Well, it's different because for one, it felt a little bit more organized progressing it the first time round. Not gonna lie, but
Well, that's just part of like.
how did they change it? How was it different? I completely forgot.
one, it's been passively nerfed by huge amounts of gear, and two, it got a 5% health nerf as well. So,
Yeah,
got a
fuck.
little bit gutted, really. It was a lot more hectic, especially the third and fourth phase, which is like the final two organs.
It just seems like nothing changes from heroic except the ad, and like obviously, you've got the corrupted blood, which is always there if you do the no dispel strat, which is fine, but it's fucking boring, and you just don't dispel it, and it's easy. You just
Yeah.
It's so easy, dude. You have a new fucking ad that spawns, and it does one charge, which tickles you, and like then it just runs by the boss and gets cleaved down instantly. Like it's a fucking joke, man. It's not a hard fight.
You really want us to do that strat, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, you'd expect like for a third last boss for it to be a lot harder.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You really would. It's such a Il'gynoth Mythic on Emerald Nightmare was hard. That was easily the hardest fight in the raid, right?
It was from a coordination level because we were a middling guild. It wasn't that hard for people that were organized.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I guess it was also the same kind of deal where like like you said, you had the good players and then just takes that one attempt, which is why it's also an annoying fight to re-clear. But I don't know. How do you guys think we'll do on Carapace and Azoth? Because those fights are exponentially more difficult in my opinion, even with the nerfs.
I think Carapace is similar difficulty to Il'gynoth now.
You think?
Yeah.
Carapace is a weird one, right? Like the mechanics look interesting, but I think that people will first struggle on the whole warlock gating over to trivialize some mechanics and shit. Like people will first struggle on that, like on a player level. But once we get that done, it'll be about the same, I think.
How many people do you think are gonna die when the fear the fear circle and the slam overlaps? I think a lot of people.
I will. I'll die with it.
Same. I'm
At
excited.
least one.
Probably at least once, yeah. I can't even remember all the tactics, but I remember watching Method and thinking, "Oh, this fight looks actually like way more fun than the original one." I'll probably die to the tentacle slam in the first phase. Not gonna lie.
Really?
Yeah. You think I won't? Ah, I will. Fuck you.
I mean, there are more of them, but like still.
There are more of them?
Yeah, they like slap down as if it's last phase now on Mythic.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, actually, maybe I won't die to it then, because it would because if it's just like one and there's a small shadow, it's like oops. But if it's like a few of them, whatever.
Whoopsie.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think Carapace will take. I mean, maybe it'll be trivialized with the new corruptions in gear, but it'll probably take a while.
You're judging it as if it's like a typical penultimate raid boss, but it really doesn't feel like it's
Okay.
typical. Like it doesn't feel like it's Avatar. It doesn't feel like it's Agramar or anything that powerful. It's kind
Fair.
of.
What do you think about N'Zoth? Do you reckon it'll take us a while? Or no?
Is world is different to everything else in the tier. I don't know how it is now. It's like 15% less health, right? But
Yeah, it's a lot less health.
it is definitely 3 times harder than anything else in the raid. Yeah.
It's gonna take us a while, but hopefully we will get it.
Oh yeah.
We definitely will get it, bro, before fucking thingy.
Unless everyone tilts the fuck out, then yeah.
Yeah, unless the
Like,
guild actually just dies.
Yeah.
In that case, Bank will make a new one, and obviously Banish
Just
it.
like take the good people, remake the guilds.
Rude thinks
start-
500 pulls. Nazoth. Nah,
I think maybe 250.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say around two. Exactly 379 pulls. Fuck, Rude. How big is your forehead right now? You're just like calculating. You're calling it? Okay, I'll hold you to it. Oh, what?
300. If we get it 379 pulls exactly, Rude, I'll give Joey a plane ticket to your house.
Deal. I'm calling it 7head. If it's exactly 379 pulls, I'll buy you some nice earrings when I fly to your house from Pink's Ticket.
Dude, don't be sexist.
Do you like earrings? Oh, so
Bring
maybe
me a ring.
not. Ah, yeah. I'll get you a nice ring. Get you a nice ring. Do you like diamonds? But okay. So while I stop simping quickly, I kind of have one more topic I want to talk about before we end this, and it's kind of what we talked about before, but it's about tanking and healing, and maybe like what our opinions on them, and if we want to see any changes. The reason I brought it up is because I have really been playing a bit of Pro Warrior recently, and I tanked Carapace and Azoth on Heroic for the first time, and all I had to do was literally just read a few sentences on like Icy Veins or some shit, and I pretty much fucking nailed the fight. It's not too hard. I mean, obviously I've done like the fights before, and I know how like the tank's position and the paths and stuff, but it's really easy, and it's been a problem for a long time because tanks literally just taunt swap after a few stacks, and then when their debuff expires, the other tank taunts, and I feel like there's a real lack of like personal responsibility, or just a lack of maybe not personal responsibility,
agree.
but there's a lack of gameplay for tanks. Like when you're not actively tanking, it's boring.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I disagree with Nazoth, actually. I think that Nazoth is what it should be, realistically. If they could do something that inventive on every fight, like, not just tanking it like a different ad each, but more that you have to dictate and plan the route beforehand, otherwise it's a wipe.
Well, I think Nazoth is kind of the exception to what I said, right? Because when you're not actively tanking, then you're doing something else. You know, one tank is in the realm, the other one's not. You're swapping on the ads at the end.
Nazoth is fine, and the Psychus thing, that's really nice. The planning the route, that's fine.
Yeah, it's cool.
I enjoy that. Even the secret mythic phase where you have to like get the what was it, the dark dark matter that the tanks get or something, and they have to like take it out, and like as soon as it drops off it explodes, and like that's simple but interesting as well. But tanking as a whole is very simple right now. I think it's kind of
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
What would you do to change it?
That's the thing, I'd make more fights like Nazoth, or I'd try and put a lot more responsibility on the tank, because I feel like it is supposed to be a role that holds the whole team together, but realistically you can fuck it up so hard at the moment and still get by.
That's true. You can literally get carried by healers as well.
And you can actually jump into Heroic at 420 eye level and tank it as if you're 480, and it doesn't matter.
That's true. The bosses don't hurt, man. I mean, okay, I will say, Carapace's Mandible Slam hurts at like 5 stacks. I was tanking at 5 stacks once, and just because I wanted to see how many I could take, that shit hurts. It nearly one-shot me with my last stand-up.
I mean,
Yeah, too.
But the other fights are easy as fuck.
that ties actually nicely into what I actually want to see for tanking. So, tanking originally was a non-DPS role where you just had to hold the aggro. You know, threat was, you know, somewhat DPS related, but it wasn't actually, because you had abilities that did no damage that built threat. But also it was, you know, survival, and healers back then were not as powerful and had as many tools as they do now. So tanking kind of went from this commander role that just had to be in charge of everyone's and their own survival to, you know, semi-DPS, semi-surviving, coordination gameplay with the healer, which is fine on paper. But I think to make tanking more interesting as a you know, gameplay, and get people invested and go like, okay, yeah, I really want to maximize what I can and can't do here, is literally make them more positional, make them more into survival, like active mitigation, decouple them from healers and let healers deal with the group more. So even if it's something like the average player has a tenth of the HP of a tank or something, and the healer literally can't keep up a tank or something, like that's like the simple, dirty fucking let's just do something to make it like that. But like healers should have a little bit of influence on the tank, but mainly the tanks should take care of themselves, and that makes it an interesting thing then, because then if the tank is all about their own survival and maximizing the group, you can decouple it from your rotation, which is basically boring as a tank, right? Like there's no tank rotation that's interesting.
That's true. Like two distinctions I can maybe see for tanking is if, like you said, you just gave tanks a ridiculous amount of HP, so healers couldn't do much besides like provide maybe buffs and like maybe heals over time. But then tanks had more emphasis on self-healing, and that aspect of gameplay was mitigated or controlled by the tank coordination. So with stacks and stuff, maybe if you tank the boss for too long, then it either gets too powerful for you, or which is like how it is now, or the amount of healing you can provide to yourself becomes less effective.
Yeah, but it is important to note that we're not saying just buff the tank's HP and be done with it, because that would be kind of pointless.
Yeah, you'd have to scale it.
Yeah, so if the tank is... So that would actually solve two issues, right? If you have the tank gain huge HP, but then buff the mob's damage in response to that, so now the tank has to work to survive, it would actually go over this... it would fix the issue right now that a lot of the cases in lower content, DPSs, especially in leveling, right? DPSs just pull everything and don't give a shit. And that's fine if you just want to blast it, but it's a really bad experience for new or inexperienced players. If you can just get blasted out and you don't do anything, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, why am I even here? Like, and they don't understand what tanking is then, and just feels like another DPS.
True.
So then that solves that issue, but also then you have that little mini game, and you learn good habits as a tank, right? Because if the whole point is you have to survive, then you're getting smashed. You learn how to handle that or die, and it's that kind of thing. It's not reading a guide is not going to give you the information to do that. It's doing it yourself and figuring out what to do, and the only way that you can learn that by failing, right?
True. I think another thing they could maybe do, but I'm unsure if this would actually be that good, is if they gave tanks like another margin or avenue to do like decent DPS when they're not tanking. Maybe make their rotation a bit more meaningful or different, or at least spice up the gameplay in some way. Like maybe say, for example, if you're a warrior, with your revenge, if you've got aggro on the boss, then maybe it gives you some fucking like mitigation or healing or something. But if you don't have aggro on the boss, it does 200% damage, something like that. It could be a bad idea, but maybe it would incentivize tanks to actually perform their rotation somewhat differently depending on how they're playing.
There's actually an example from Final Fantasy XIV again. I think that game is the best MMO on the market. I've said it before, but the only issue is community, right? It's such a good like MMO from a gameplay perspective. But the tanks there are really interesting, right? So the rotations work a little differently in Final Fantasy XIV, where you don't have a priority system that does damage, right? They have actually a combo system where you use ability 1, which enables you to use ability 2, which enables you to use ability 3, kind of thing, right? You can't just press ability 3, which is your hardest hitting ability all the time, because you have to press 1 and 2 first before you can even press it.
Sounds too flowcharty to me.
It is a little bit flowcharty.
Sounds like Demon Hunter.
It does,
Demons Bite, Demons Bite, Demons Bite. Chaos Strike.
Not every class is like that, right? But the main thing about that is that it ties into tanking things really well, because you've got one where you're actively tanking the boss and you're not focusing on those big hits because they take your resources, your survivability, your self-healing. But you can use that combo, the high damage combo, when you're not tanking and do more damage. Like you can do closer to the
Okay, that's cool.
It's different combos, different things you can do in different situations, and I think that's really nice.
I like the ninja class.
Ninja class is fucking great. It's so good.
Well, what's the first one? It's like this, then it's like that, and then it's fucking dab.
Yeah, literally they have hand signs. Like, it's hilarious, right?
Fucking Naruto.
It's 3 buttons, 3 different keybinds you have to have, and they have a 0.5 second GCD. And depending in what combination you press them, so 1 2 3 or 3 2 1 or 1 3 2, you can then use an ability to get.
Can you do like 1 1 1?
No, they have to be different. But
True.
you can
Then it'll just be like.
You can do 1 2 or 1 3 3 1.
Okay.
And then you press the finisher, and it does something else. So
it's like Windwalker Monk, Pog.
One is an enemy debuff, one is a DPS gain, a slice and dice kind of thing, and that's a really cool gameplay loop.
That's true. But does it just become like a chain, like you do, like maybe the most optimal thing is to do 1-3-1, 1-2-1-2-3, 3-1-2, like, or is it really depending on the content?
It depends on the. It definitely depends on what's happening right now, but obviously
Okay.
there's going to be an optimal answer. Like if you're in a dungeon and you want to do AoE, there's an optimal answer. If you're in a raid and you want to do single target, there's an optimal answer. But that's always going to be the case, and that's actually one of the reasons why MMOs are kind of shit games.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I kind of like that.
I like it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice because there's always something to work towards, and a way to be more optimal with your DPS. But yeah, and what do you think about healing? That fine? I don't really play much healing, to be honest. But I don't know, a lot of fights. And I guess you pointed out before, Ben, but a lot of the content becomes trivial when you go back to it as a healer, and then on top of that, it really feels like there's just moments of average, or like little to no healing, or just average healing, and then there's big spikes of it, which are predictable, which in a sense is good for gameplay, but maybe they could even it out a bit more. I'm not too familiar with it though.
100% predictable. It's just all about how much effort you put in beforehand and how comfortable you are with the rotation and stuff. It's all the same as DPS, but I think the challenge really comes from how far you can push it within the constraints of your resources and mana and stuff. And I think it's a really fun playstyle for a lot of people.
Yeah, I like the
And then
competition
really
of it.
an M+.
There is
True.
an interesting point to healing that I'd like to ask you about actually, and that's every boss kind of has a set amount of healing that needs to be covered, right? With
Yeah.
DPS, the ceiling is infinite. Like if you can do more DPS, you're doing more DPS, right?
Hmm.
With healing, that's not the case. So like, how does that influence the competitive aspect of it? Because that's gonna cuck some people.
What do you mean by cucks people?
Like when you had your paladin that was quite overgeared, right?
Oh yeah.
You had like massive numbers, and we didn't need 3 healers anymore or 4 healers anymore on a lot of things just because you covered more than essentially a single healer's
Yeah.
thing. So if you have 4 healers in your rotation in your comp, and then like obviously this doesn't apply if people can reroll or are happy to reroll, or you're in a high progress guild that actually wants to go cutting edge. But if you're more casual and the person just wants to play healer, and then you cuck each other because there's just not enough healing to cover, and then that brings down the competitive nature as well because you're sniping each other now instead of working together. It just, I don't know, it feels a bit off to me.
I guess.
Well,
Oh, sorry, you finish your point first.
Yeah, well, it's kind of it is an interesting point. I don't think there's ever a point where you would reduce your healers because of the individual skill of one healer, unless it's like somebody else has actually just come from another guild with tons of gear, tons of experience in all the fights, and can cover that. I don't think that happens in a guild where everyone is at the same level. I think that they'll know from the outset what healers they'll need for each fight, and it will remain pretty much the same throughout the tier.
So
Pretty
Rude,
much, yeah.
so
At a
Rude
high
said, like you need to know the fight perfectly to ramp up, and then that's how you do big numbers, and that's where the competition comes from. Sniping each other is the competition. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
It's not all sniping though. Sometimes it's the competitiveness comes from. I don't know. I just feel like there's always healing you can do. I've never got the sniping thing because there's always points where you can heal where the other person doesn't have cooldowns. It's just about managing your cooldowns better.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess as long as the raid is staying alive, then the competition doesn't matter. But Pink, with what you said earlier about DPS requirements being infinite, like obviously it's true where you're always kind of encouraged to do more DPS, and with healing sometimes you you need more healing. But then there's like some fights occasionally where you just need the DPS check, like the Butcher in Worlds of Draenor, and then that big fucking guy on the bridge in the Nighthold, I forgot his name.
Crotus.
Yeah,
Croesus. So there are fights like that where there are pretty strict healing and DPS requirements, but what do you make of that?
Minimum DPS for sure. There's minimum DPS and minimum HPS. I meant that there's no DPS ceiling, as in the amount of DPS you do isn't capped. You just kill the boss faster.
Right,
The amount of healing you do is capped because at some point everyone's max health, and yeah, they'll take damage and you can heal, just like Ben was saying. But you like if the boss is doing maximum 250k DPS to the raid group, you're not gonna have more than that.
Yeah,
ever.
no. The only skill thing about healing is the consistency of your ability to keep people up. in progression.
That's a good point. I mean, I have to agree with Rude on what she said now too. Like what she said, whether it's popping Trank 1 second earlier than expected to start ticking earlier, or perfectly timing your wings, it's all just knowing how to time and what not, which makes the competition. It's true, but that's, it's like the exact same thing for DPS, right? Where you're gonna get the edge over the other mages if you popped your combust at a better time, which is a good thing.
How you push yourself, and that is the competition, but it's not really relevant to, like, if there's only 300k HPS to be done and your healers are doing 200k each and you have 4 of them, you don't need 4 of them then,
Rude said no, times are known for DPS. But I kind of disagree, because I feel like if you're going to be using your Trank or something, and I could be wrong, right, because I don't play much healer, but I feel like, say you're going to be using your Tranquility, then you're going to have a set time to use it for the most part, and even if you're just like using it whenever,
on progression maybe, but...
yeah, on a progression maybe, but even if you're just using it whenever, like, it does come down to the timing, because the timing isn't always going to be the exact fucking same for DPS. Like, you're not always going to be using it exactly like 1 minute or something like that. It changes depending on other factors sometimes.
I mean, in some cases,
I guess healing is a bit more versatile in that way, but I feel like the overall comparison is pretty fucking similar. Unless you're just like randomly maybe using your CDs, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
It also depends on class. Like Beastmaster Hunter, you just press your cooldown.
That's a good point.
Whenever, because if you lose out on casts, it's a bigger DPS loss than aligning it with like trinket procs or whatever. Now, obviously, if there's a big boss phase you need to push, you do hold it, but it's a DPS loss.
Yeah, true. I guess in the respect of like, okay, I have this cooldown now as a DPS, and I can use it now and get damage, but will I be able to use it when I know this thing is coming? And you have to gauge that timing for yourself. Then it's where the skill comes from, and I could see that being similar to healing.
Yeah, those timings are pretty known though. Like you can theory craft them out.
True, but I'm also thinking about in like because obviously DPS is gonna like fluctuate between pools, but then also if you think in like Mythic Plus and stuff, then it's a really important factor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Again, though, I think for example, in MDI, they fully script what they're gonna do for DPS.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're gonna pop your cooldown on that pack, you're gonna pop your cooldown on that pack, and then you're gonna have it back for here, and so on.
Yeah, no, for sure.
How you play with a mage in high keys as well. You have to do that.
Yeah, you literally have to plan around it. All right, guys. I think we've hit like the 2.5 hour mark though. So, do you want to call her up? See, any final words?
Thank you for having me. It was actually really fun.
No, I was gonna thank you myself for coming. It was actually really interesting talking at the start about all that stuff, and it's obviously been a good talk. Thank you very much for the clickbait though. Like, I will need that sim after, by the way.
Alright, yeah, sure.
Hell yeah.
I'll tell you what you should do as well. You should put a pink panda logo in the thumbnail.
Nah, the title's enough. But yeah, alright, Pink, any last words?
No, I'm really enjoying the podcast. I hope that we can keep it a staple. I'm gonna hype up the YouTube video again. Like, watch out for that. That's coming soon.
Yeah, probably next week. Expect that. I think like let's just finish the round up the podcast time for now. I reckon just for now because it's how it's been the past 2 weeks. But let's just make it roughly 2.5 hours because that seems fine.
Yeah.
So like I guess that'll be our average time, but obviously expect some fluctuations there. And as with the day of the podcast, I think maybe we might just upload it. When did I upload it before? On a Wednesday? Tuesday? We'll see how it goes, but yeah, we had some big render issues with the first video. It was fucking painful. But I'm thinking around uploading it maybe like a day before, so on the Thursday, which would be a day before we actually do the podcast. But yeah, definitely stay tuned because we'll be having a video coming probably next week on perceived difficulty and rating. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, then thanks for all the support, and I definitely encourage you guys to come by the stream if you ever can. But yeah, this is Deep Dive Gaming, and I hope you enjoyed episode 2 of the Diving In podcast. Thanks all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Have a good night, guys. Have my kiss. There we go. Fucking beautiful. Alright, see you guys. I nearly fucking ended stream. Accidentally.
Stream.